All right, welcome everyone. Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight, episode some number. That's big. Don't remember anymore. Recording a day in advance, so if you're watching this when the YouTube video comes out, it's Christmas Eve. Pog, Merry Christmas, everyone. Um, and you know what we all wanted for Christmas as children? Legos. What an awesome segue.
That's so true.
I
Oh my
know, right? I'm so good at making segues. So
god.
And
Yeah.
so let's combine Legos and speedrunning. It's perfect. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Almost,
Yeah,
we're getting there.
almost Christmas.
Yeah.
Just a day away. Oh my god. Yeah. So, you're pretty
Yeah.
good at speedrunning Lego video games, I've heard.
Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah. Obviously, We Super has been on this podcast before, and I watched that entire thing. And I would like to say, first of all, I'm glad you had him on, because if I were to give my story of like how I started speedrunning, it actually all goes back to that guy. We Super is was the reason I started, actually. But there is an interesting bit of lore, if you'd like me to
Ooh,
tell,
of
for how I
course, of
started
course.
speedrunning. So many of you may know who Easy Speezy is, but the real Easy is Easyscape. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people know who Easyscape is. I didn't. He was actually at Pace, and I didn't get to meet him. But Easyscape, I actually used to watch a little bit back in 2017 and 2018. And in 2018, he did a co-op stream of Smash 4, Smash for Wii U, and that was they were speedrunning classic mode in that game in co-op. I don't know why I was watching that. It's really just not a good run at all. But anyway, I was watching it with my friend. I think we were watching that, like we were just like on a call playing like TF2 or something, and we were watching that, and we saw that they had just gotten record, and they got record in that category really quickly, and so we were like, we should run this. By the way, I had never speedrun before. He had never speedrun before, but we kind of knew what it is. I used to watch Clint like 8 years ago, so that was sort of my introduction, because the real intro is that people used to tell me I looked like Clint all the time, which I get that sometimes still. I don't really see it, but anyway,
Not really.
um, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I knew about speedrunning. I'd seen GDQ and whatever. I'm a gamer, so of course I knew what it was, but I had never speedrun anything before. So we speedran Smash 4 co-op classic mode on September 15th, 2018. So 2018, that was when I started speedrunning, and we got record. That category sucks. It's like all RNG. We did not enjoy it at all. I don't know why we even did that. And Easyscape did not even notice. So there was no point at all. And our run got verified like a month later. So no one even really probably noticed it happened. But it's still there. If you go on my speedrun.com profile, it is still there at the bottom. So anyway, um, right after that, I want to actually check the date, because that was sort of my introduction. That was like when I started. I did that, and that was on the 15th. And then around a month later, we submitted our first Lego run. So that's the transition between that was us um, learning that people speedrun Lego Star Wars. And the reason we figured this out is because we played Smash for Wii U. That was the game that we had. I'm sitting there looking through my Wii games, and I'm like, well, what else can we do? And I see Lego Star Wars. And I remember this sentence because it's very funny that I said this. I said, there's no way people speedrun this game, which is just funny because that's like a meme that we get in our comments all the time. But I really did say that out loud to my friend. And my friend, to introduce this character, his username is Fezteo. I will probably call him Aiden, because that is how I have known him. He has been my best friend since like 6th grade. I it goes back quite far. We used to have like a YouTube channel together where we made like gaming videos and stuff, and we made music together and all this stuff. So we did a lot of stuff together, and that was kind of why he was he'll be my co-op partner. I think it just made sense. And what's really interesting is that he was always better than me at every game we played. He was better than me at everything. And so when we did co-op, he was player one. So when I started learning Lego Star Wars, he was player one and I was player two, because he was better actually when we started learning it. And so we started learning the run because we found the episode 1 record on speedrun.com, which is called Super Story. So it's just one episode. That's like a 15-ish, 20 minute run, I would say. And so the run was not very optimized because it's co-op. So like the solo was, reasonably optimized, but the co-op run was not, because in Lego games, co-op is kind of hard to do, because if you're going to do it on Wii, at least it's got to be in person. And having 2 speedrunners in the same room is not a common occurrence. I think most people who speedrun know this. And so, yeah, we had one record to go off of that was co-op, and we learned from that run. And that run was T-Fresh and T-Fresh's brother. Some people may know who T-Fresh is already, but I guess I'll get to that later. And so we learned that run, and we submitted our first run. It was not record, but it was second place out of the 2 runs on the leaderboard. And we were pretty happy about it. And yeah, that was the beginning, I would say. That was how it started.
Gotta love top 2 out of 2.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining.
No? I mean, that's second place. Pretty
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good start. It's funny you brought up Easyscape. He was on my show 2 weeks ago.
I heard about that. Yeah.
There you go.
Very, very great content creator. Always loved his videos, and definitely was how I got into speedrunning. And like, I think he didn't blow up like Carl Jobs did, and like I don't know, Easy Speezy and some of the other creators. He didn't really blow up like they did, but he's always been, I think, one of my favorite speedrunning creators. Him and Summoning Salt, absolute peak.
Yeah, Summoning Salt was my introduction to speedrunning. So there you go.
Yeah, that's I think a lot of people would say that. I would imagine he's definitely got the most palatable videos for like the mainstream audience, I think, that don't know anything about speedrunning, and so it's a good way to get into speedrunning. That's what I've noticed.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just everything you need to know about a game, and especially if you like played it and are into it, all of a sudden like, oh wow, this is something I could be interested in. I mean, that's how it worked for me. I'm sure it's how it worked for a lot of people.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I do.
Easyscape were like the OGs, and Apollo.
Yeah, that's what I was
they're
gonna
like
say.
the OG 3, I'd say.
I agree with that. Yeah, and like Easyscape had been around for a long time when I started watching him already. And it is crazy for me to think about the fact that was 5 years ago, because I have had a lot of hobbies. I used to, this is going to fill me with disgust to talk about. I used to be like a competitive Smash Ultimate player. That's why I started speedrunning Smash 4, actually. And I never really stuck with anything. I didn't stick with that for more than like a year or year and a half. And I'd done a couple things competitively before and had many serious hobbies, but nothing I had really ever done for more than 2 years. And now here I am on the 2-year anniversary of like me getting my second world record, I think, or close to it. So it's very, very interesting for me, because I didn't think I would take it this far, but I guess the Summoning Salt video is a very easy way to explain the reason that a lot of us stuck around, and I think no one would be surprised by that. But I guess we can build up to that a little bit before I really get into that.
That's fair. But yeah, humble beginnings.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, I guess like I used to run on Wii. Obviously, everyone runs Lego Star Wars on PC now, pretty much. But I ran on Wii because that's what I had. I had a MacBook Pro, so I wasn't exactly prepared to be running on PC. And I think I ran for quite a while in co-op. It wasn't like it was kind of serious, I would say, but like not incredibly serious. To the point where I was like I wasn't thinking about it at night in my bed when I'm falling asleep. But it definitely was something that I was interested in, and I followed sort of the scene. And I guess that's where Wii Super gets introduced, because he was the first streamer I watched of that game. That's right. For those of you who don't know, that man was streaming 5 years ago. Well, 4 years ago, really. And I watched him a lot. And I remember, I hate talking about this, but I used to be kind of like a troll, because I did not really like care about speedrunning. I was just kind of doing it, and it was Lego Star Wars, so I didn't really think anyone took it seriously. So there are some old forum posts that I made that are just so obnoxious and annoying, and Wii Super, I'll call him Justin probably sometimes, but he was nice. He was the only one who was actually nice to me, even though I didn't deserve it at all. I was so annoying, but he was nice. And I remember I was pressed at one point because the category we had gotten record in, which was episode 1 Super Story Co-op on Wii, which, by the way, was on the category extensions, not even on the main boards. So I don't know why I cared so much about this, but the category that we had gotten record in got removed from the leaderboards. That's a whole nother story, because apparently no one knew that was happening. And so there was this whole big drama. I was pissed about it. Fezteo was pissed about it. We were both angry because we had actually put quite a bit of time into like playing that one category, which, by the way, it's very easy. We weren't very good, but we had put a lot of time in. And so we were annoyed that the category got removed. And I was just crying about it everywhere, man. I put it in all my video descriptions. I was like forum posting. I was like, guys, please bring the category back. And then Wii Super, he gave me this like nice cordial response. And then I also saw that he was from Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from. And I was like, I kind of like this guy. I don't really know why that made me like him, but I guess it just did. And so, yeah. So basically, I need to make this focus. Basically what happened was I like built some sort of a connection with Wii Super, to the point where I knew who he was and he knew who I was. That was about as far as that went. And at this point, I graduated high school. So in 2019, this May of 2019, I guess, I graduated high school, and so I just stopped speedrunning because I was like, well, I'm not gonna have any time to do this, and I'm going away to college. Feste was going to, a different college in a different state, so we're not gonna be able to speedrun in person anymore. So that was the end. And yeah, that's the whole story. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so we stopped, and I remember actually when I got to college, on the first day of college, I met my roommate. It was like a random person. I got randomly matched with someone. And I remember showing him like that I could speedrun Lego Star Wars. Like I opened the game on my laptop, which was a Mac still at the time. So it ran the game horribly. And I was like, yo, isn't this cool? And he was like, oh, that's really cool. And I did not touch the game for months after doing that. So that was like it. I like opened the game. I thought that maybe I would be able to speedrun during college, and I did not at all. So at this point, you sort of fast forward the prologue, and a few months later, I started doing co-op on PC with Fezteo. I believe, I'm not sure when it was. It looks like it was, let's see. Yeah, okay. It was not until April of the next year. So at that point, COVID had happened, I guess. I'd gone home, and, being the responsible student that I was, I spent none of my time actually doing schoolwork and all of it speedrunning instead. So because I had so much free time, Fezteo and I started running again, this time on PC, this time doing free play, which is actually the whole game. So there's any percent, which I'm sure most people know about because that's the one in the Summoning Salt video. And then there's free play, and free play is sort of like a new game plus kind of thing, but it's very different. because it's an hour and a half long compared to 2.5 hours, or at the time 3 hours long. So there's no cutscenes. You got all these new characters that you can move around with. You can clip through every wall and every ceiling in the game. So it's super different. And we learned that run. It actually took us quite a while. And we came back on April to do our first co-op of that category. Or I think it was our second one. I think we'd done it at some point, but we hadn't like submitted it yet. And we got record because there were no runs on the board. You might be noticing a theme here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the introduction. That was in 2020 in April, and that was when I really started speedrunning Lego, because from then until now, and it's been almost not 4 years, but over 3.5 years, I don't think that there is a single month where I haven't submitted a run. So, yeah, that's how we got here, sort of. That's the introduction. That's the prequel. How I started speedrunning. There's obviously some extra details, but yeah. So that's how it started.
Yeah, it's a good way to get into it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Run some categories no one cares about.
Yep.
World record, and it's like, all right, there we go.
Yeah. And I obviously knew, like, at the time, I was pretty aware of the fact that I was not actually very good at the game, because I'm comparing to these people who've put so much more time in and are so much better. And I've never been particularly good at video games, to be honest. So I guess that's another thing I can get into at some point. Is the reason I was doing co-op is because I did not think there was even a chance I could do well by myself. And so I just didn't even bother. But yeah, so that's how we are here. I don't know if you have any particular questions or if you just want me to talk about the, general experience, but yeah.
You seem to be on a roll with it so far.
Okay.
So.
Well, I guess like what ended up happening was, after we started getting all these co-op free play records, we started to realize that, like, the co-op free play records we were getting were actually not that far off solo. So, like, I think at the point where I did a solo run, we had a 122 and record was a 121. So, like, and that's solo record. So people, in the Discord would occasionally be like, are you going to do a solo run? Because, I mean, yeah, I'm a minute off record in co-op. One of us should be able to get a decent time in solo, you would think. But I was just nervous. I definitely did not feel very confident in my ability to do it by myself. And free play is not the main category. So I felt like if I couldn't even get a good time by myself in free play, there was not really much of a point in me speedrunning Lego Star Wars, because any percent is so much harder and so much longer. But I will say the one thing about this game, and everyone who runs it agrees with this at some point in time, is that the community is very, like, inviting and accepting. Like, they want everyone to succeed. And the amount of help that I got from people that I didn't even ask for help from is honestly insane. I remember I would, we didn't tend to ask too much for, like, help, because it's co-op, so we could always figure stuff out with each other. But at one point, I remember I asked We Super for help on something, and I also asked T-Fresh for help on something, because they were both pretty high up there on free play. And I actually was surprised that they responded to me, because I kind of assumed that speedrunners just kept to themselves. And that was kind of my introduction to, I guess, like, the community aspect of speedrunning. Like, I truly did not know that is what it was like. And I thought that was very cool. And as well as that, there's also the fact that, like, the amount of people in that community was pretty small. It was a pretty small community when I joined, and obviously even smaller before that. but the point that I joined at, I think that the record was not sub 3. I'm actually not sure on this. I think when I originally joined, it was like a 310 or something, and now it's a 222. So obviously, a lot of progress has been made in the game, and it's important to appreciate everyone that has contributed to that progress. And I think that at the beginning, I was sort of in awe of all the people who were willing to dedicate time to help and create a surrounding community for that game. And definitely like some of I think T Fresh, Xenor, and We Super are probably the three people I would say helped the most with just like making me feel like I was a community member. I actually remember we played like Scribble.io, I think, pretty early on into my speedrunning career, you could say. I think at that point I still hadn't done a solo run. I was just a co-op runner, but they were playing Scribble.io in someone's Discord. I think it was Skulker's Discord side character. But I joined that, and I just remember having so much fun and meeting so many people there that I'm still friends with today. And it's crazy because that was 3.5 years ago. But some of my closest friends I met in that VC, and I remember we sat in that VC for hours. Even after the game ended, I was just talking with some people. I found out that there were some people that watched Melee in that community, and I was like, hey, that's cool, because I also watch Melee. And I started bonding with people, and it really made me want to actually commit to playing this game, because speedrunning was something that I had watched from the sidelines for so long, and I didn't realize that there were people who did it that would be so accepting of someone else joining, which I guess obviously sounds stupid. If you're part of a speedrunning community, you know, well, of course, like everyone wants a new runner. But when you are that new runner, it's very scary. It's like daunting, because everyone already knows the strats. Everyone already has good times. Everyone's already learned and asked the scary questions to ask. And me sitting there on my MacBook, I'm like, I don't know if I want to commit to this, but I pretty much made the decision to commit when I did my first ever solo speed run in, what day was it? It was May 12th of 2020. And I did my first solo run of free play. I got a 126, which was not good, but I was really happy with it because, yeah, I mean, like I was like top 10 or something. I don't know. There were like 25 runs. It wasn't that impressive, but I was happy with it because, you know, I just hadn't ever done much of anything on my own before. Like, it was a big confidence booster, and that was when I learned any percent. So because I did that, I made like a deal. I believe the deal I made was with EJP Man. EJP Man is a runner who has a sub 230, so he's pretty top level. He's been around for even longer than I have. He's always been a staple of the community. He ran at pace this summer, and it is his birthday as well. That's true. Happy birthday, EJP Man. And so I think I was like, if you get sub 3, I will learn any percent. It was something like that. It was like, maybe I was like, if you get sub 130 in free play, or some like really easy goal that he definitely could have done. And he did it. And I was like, all right, guess I'm learning any percent. And I learned any percent in 2 days. And that is a crazy weekend of my life, because I remember like the whole thing. I remember learning each level. I remember like every single like not even just like conversation I had, but each like individual experience I had where people were teaching me each level. And I'm in a VC with all these runners that know so much more than me, like Jared and the Crazed Cap, and, you know, people who are still top runners, and they're teaching me all this stuff, and I'm like not understanding half of it, but I learned it in 2 days, and I have this literal core memory that I will never forget. So Cloud City Trap, most people know about this level because it's the hardest one. It's pretty infamous. I was learning DV1. So that's the panel fly with R2. Either you know it or you don't, whatever. Anyway, I was learning the trick and I sat there and I could not do it. And there's a runner in the VC with me. His name is the Crazed Cap. He was a mod of the game up until like a month or so ago. And so, yeah, he's always been a pretty big pillar of the community. But he was teaching me panel fly on DV1 for like 2 hours. And I literally did not get it once. And then I finally got it after like 2 hours or something. And it was like 5 a.m. at this point. And I will never forget that moment where I finally got it. And I just remember being like, you know what? I can speedrun this game. And let me just say, that trick is not that hard. I don't know why it took me 2 hours to learn, but that is a core memory for me because it is this weirdly like symbolic moment of like perseverance that I had never done before. Like I actually sat down and spent 2 hours learning it and actually succeeded, which I didn't think was even capable of. And that was what gave me the confidence for so long. So I did my first 80% run and it was like 344, I think, which honestly, I was actually very happy about that because that game is hard to learn, especially in 2 days. So like even getting a sub 4, I was pretty happy with. And a 344, I was like, yeah, man, I'll take that. That's like pretty good. I mean, I don't know where it was on the leaderboards, granted. It was probably like 50th place or something. I mean, I don't know, there probably weren't even 50 runs at that point, but I didn't really care about that. I was just happy to have done it. And so, yeah, May is my first any percent run, May of 2020. But after that, I did not run any percent for months because I was like, or it was at least like a month. I was like, that's good enough for me. We're just gonna stop there. I'm gonna go back to free play. And I did some solo, I did some free play co-op, and I'm just kind of taking my times down. I'm enjoying myself. I'm obviously still in school, so I didn't have like an ample amount of time necessarily. But you know, when summer hit, that would be when I had more time. And you know, COVID is still happening, so I didn't really have much better to do than to speedrun. And I think I came back to any percent in June of that year. And that was when I discovered practice. Like,
Oh,
I'm not even joking when I say this. I remember I struggled with this trick, Speeder Skip. It's in Speeder Showdown. It's like the trick itself saves like 5 minutes. So everyone goes for it. And I lost like 4 minutes to it in my PB. And I remember going into the level and doing it once and being like, okay, now I can save 4 minutes. And then something in my brain just clicked. And I was like, wait, that's what practicing is. You just do it again and you just keep doing it. And it just makes you better at it. Like, I don't know how this was like, I felt like such an idiot when this happened, but because I hadn't practiced before this, I just done runs. Like, I thought that's what speedrunning was. I thought it was just doing speed runs. I didn't know what practice was. I didn't know what like grinding was. I just thought it was just doing runs. And so I made that discovery. I PB'd by like 20 minutes on my next run. It was like a 325 or something. And then I was like, hey, that's not so hard. And then I kept going. I got like a 310, I think. And then I think I went back to free play after that. I'm just kind of like switching between the categories. I actually got a pretty good time in free play. I think I got a 121, but at that point, record had been taken down. It's like a 119 or something. And so my goal was eventually I would get a 119 in free play. But that was, you know, way off, way in the future. I wasn't really record capable in anything yet. So I went back to any percent. I got a 302 apparently. And I don't really remember that run very well, but I got a 302. And at this point, I was like, all right, I'm going to go for sub 3. That's going to be the any percent end goal. Back then, record was like a 240 something. So going for sub 3 wasn't like as outlandish as it is now. Like now going for sub 3, like you can get sub 3 on your first run. Back then, the fastest sub 3 had been achieved was like 7 or 8 runs, like submitted runs. So you couldn't really do it that quickly. And obviously, we were a much smaller community. And I think I got a 30052, which made me really annoyed because I was so ready to be done. I was like, all right, we're doing sub 3, and then I'm going back to free play. And that was my first like mental barrier as well that I'd ever encountered. I just couldn't beat a 300 because I don't know, my brain couldn't do it. Everyone's been there. Everyone's had a mental barrier, but it was my first experience having one, and it was so weird. I didn't know what it was happening. Like, I didn't used to believe in that kind of stuff, but it exists, you know. When your brain doesn't believe that you can do it, you're not going to be able to do it. And I couldn't do it. Like, I wasn't getting any runs going. My sob was like 10 minutes off my PB, dude. I don't know. It was terrible. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I give up. And then I went back to free play. And I think at that point, free play, I was like pretty focused on just trying to get like a good free play time, because any percent had just driven me insane. So free play record at that point was a 118.19 or something. I think it was a 118.19 by T Fresh. Now T Fresh was sort of like my mentor back then, because he helped me through a lot of that mental barrier and also helped me with just getting better at speedrunning in general. And so definitely was one of my closest friends. And there's a very cool story that comes with the next section of my speedrunning, adventure. But I would say this is where that chapter ends. You know, the mental barrier. I hit that mental wall and I went back to free play. I got a 119 in free play, and I was like, maybe I'll just call it there. Obviously, it didn't, but that was, relatively satisfactory to me. This is like, we're in like July-ish, I think, of 2020. And then what happened next was very interesting, because I realized that I was only a minute off record, and I was probably capable of record at this point. And like, there are actually very few people who have ever had a mainboard record in this game. And I know that sounds weird because the game has been speedrun for quite a few years, actually, and there have been so many records. But I think in free play, I can actually check how many people have ever had a free play record. It's only 9 people ever. And one of those was like the first run of free play, obviously. So realistically, it's like 7, because a couple of those records are just kind of like 3-hour times, like hours off what it is now. And so I had this goal of getting record, because I honestly didn't really think I could do it still. Like, I had some level of confidence just from my times that I had been getting, but not much. Like, I guess I had some sort of imposter syndrome, is a better way to put it. Like, I knew I was decent, but I didn't think there was anything I was better at than like the record holder TSG or Wii Super, for example. So I definitely built this mental barrier for that as well. And at this point, like, it's not good, because now I have these 2 mental barriers going on in my head. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to get sub 3. I'm not gonna be able to get record in free play. And I had at this point started devoting a lot of time to this game. Like, this was becoming the biggest part of my life. And I was getting pretty like pent up with all the barriers that I had to like fight against just to get the times that I wanted. And so I had this very memorable conversation with T Fresh, and I think it was with T Fresh and E Roadhouse. This is a good time to introduce E Roadhouse. He is in my opinion, the best runner ever. He is amazing at this game, and he is such he has such a great mentality and such good practice habits, such good technical skill. He used to be like a competitive Fortnite player, I think. So he's got the tech. He's got the tech skill. Um, and he came around pretty much the same time I did. It was like the same month, pretty much. He started speedrunning any percent. I started speedrunning free play, and we sort of rose up in the same way in that year. And I had a conversation with him and T Fresh, and I remember this conversation because right after it, T Fresh went away to basic training for the military. So he was going to be gone for a long time, and he had a record. And so I was like, maybe this is actually my chance because the record holder is going to be gone. We Super also had a competitive free play time, but he was doing any percent. And TSG, the person in second place, had just kind of disappeared. And this conversation, he really motivated me. He told me like not to let mental barriers, build up in your mind and how to have confidence. And he taught me a lot in that like 30-minute period that I talked to him in E Roadhouse. And he went away, and I was nervous because I was like, if he comes back and I don't have a record, I look so bad. Like that, it's going to be like months. And if I don't have record at that point, like he's just going to be disappointed in me. And so that was my first feeling of like trying to do it almost for someone else. Like I really wanted him because he believed in me. So I really wanted him to show him that I could do it. And so I got to grinding free play, and I got a 118, but it wasn't close to record yet. It was still like 40 seconds off. And I was grinding free play, and E Roadhouse was grinding any percent at the same time. And neither of us, we were both new runners. So it's a very interesting story. And I always like talking about this because I should know the date. I think it was the 15th. Oh, God. How do I not know this? Oh, whatever. It was the 11th. On August 11th, 2020, E Roadhouse beat We Super to get the any percent world record. And we were pretty good friends. Me and E Roadhouse, I'm going to call him Evan. We were pretty good friends at this point. And I was so happy for him and so proud of him because it was so inspiring to me to see someone that wasn't We Super, that wasn't Senor, that wasn't T Fresh come in and just swoop in and get record. Like that was so inspiring to me, especially with how quickly he had done it. I mean, he'd only been running for like 5 months or something at that point. And so that same day, August 11th, I also got free play record for the first time. And I think it is such a cool story because he does it in any percent, and then later that night I do it in free play. And it is this cool like dawn of an era to where since then, E Roadhouse and I have held almost all of the records in every category in this game. And we sort of started at the same time. We set our records in our respective categories on the same day. And since then, it's been like only up from there. And it's really inspiring to have someone as not necessarily a rival, but like a very close competitor to push you in the category you're running and to push them back in the category they're running. And it helps you really optimize the game. It helps you stay motivated to have someone to compete against. Even if it can hurt when you lose, it feels good to win. And that's why everyone speedruns. And that is when I would say I realized that speedrunning was going to be like a big part of my life. Like it was going to be something that I had a passion for because I have had passions in other areas of my life before, but the passion I felt for speedrunning on that day, I will never forget. So that is an incredibly iconic day in my life, August 11th, 2020. And at that point, it sort of turned me into an 80% runner because I had free play record, right? And so I set the next few free play records. I think Fezteo took it from me once. I think We Super took it from me once. But from there, I brought record pretty far down, and I realized like it would make sense for me to go back to any percent because I needed another challenge. And 90% is the real category. Like, it's the one with tons of runners. It's the one that Summoning Salt made a video on. Maybe I didn't know that was going to happen yet, but I knew it was like the legit category.
90% always is.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah.
The main category, the first one you click on when you open the page on speedrun.com, it's always going to be the important one. So I went back. I got sub 3 like immediately. I got a 256, which was really funny. I PB'd by like 4 minutes, which was I think that's the fastest like sub 3 time someone has gotten. Like, most people get like a 259 or a 258, and I just got a 256 out of nowhere. And so I was very, very impressed with myself. And I was also losing minutes in free play and any percent to loads because I was on Mac. And so I finally got a PC for my birthday that year. It was like October. And that enabled me to really start speedrunning seriously. So I got a PC, and I went back to any percent, and I PB'd on my first attempt by like 3 minutes, just because I was saving so much time from the loads. And I mean, I'm sure I played better because I had only done like 4 or 5 runs at that point. But yeah, so at this point I was committed to both free play and any percent, but really looking for a challenge in any percent, I would say, because free play, I was the record holder, and it felt very good. And especially with the few number of people who have held a main board record, I was like, not, I will not say that it wasn't satisfying, but I just wanted another challenge, because that's what speedrunning is. It's always about like pushing yourself and finding some challenge that you can overcome and achieving a goal. And the thing is, when I was sort of the only one seriously running free play, and this might be a foreign concept to you because you're in a game where there's probably people running every category, and if there's not, there's a task for the category or something like that. But when I was the only one running the category, I didn't know what a good time was. And like, that is a weird feeling because you don't have a goal. I'm just like, I don't know. I got a 116. Is that good? Like, I don't know. It could be. Like, it's kind of hard to tell, especially with how early I was into speedrunning. Like, I didn't have a good sense of optimization and lines and all that stuff. So I didn't really know. I didn't really know very well. And so because of that, I was like, I'm just gonna go to any percent and see if I can challenge there for like top 5 or top 10 or something. I don't know. I didn't really have a goal with that either. I just wanted to get better. So I did. I started speedrunning any percent again after the 253 that I got, and then I got a 248. And I was kind of doing everything. Like, I did free play solo, I did free play co-op. I think we actually got a pretty good free play co-op time. Oh, this is interesting, actually. It is still our current free play co-op PB. It's from November of 2020. So 113.07, second place. So yeah, that was the last time I did co-op, I guess. And from there, it was all solo. I realized like there's more than just relying on a partner to carry you through. Even though co-op is fun, I wanted to prove myself on my own. And so I got a 113 in solo. I got a 248 in any percent. And at this point, I'm just taking my times down. There's nothing notable, really. Obviously, any percent record is getting pushed down a lot. I'm just kind of working my way through college. I remember this time pretty fondly because it was a lot of like learning from people around me. There were now people in my like skill range in any percent. There's other people with a 247 or something, and so we could all sort of grind together. And so that was a very fun part of my career. And actually, there was a point at sort of in this period where we were all going for sub 240, because sub 240 had been achieved in August of that year by WeSuper, and then Eva Roadhouse's first record was also a 239. So 230 something, that was like where record was, and that was where everyone's goal time was, because you want to get in the same 10-minute barrier as record. It's pretty hard to do with how optimized that run was getting. And so yeah, so me and I think it's Jared 97, EJP Man, the Crazed Cap, Senor. I guess you can't really count Senor because he was already like record level, but Zentorian. I'm trying to see, these names mean nothing to most people, but I just like to mention them. And there may have been one more, but yeah. So all this group of us, we're all competing for sub 240 because we want to be third place on the leaderboards or like fourth place or whatever it is, and we want to get the what we believe to be the last 10-minute barrier in the game. And so yeah, we were all competing for it pretty heavily. I was not necessarily an underdog, but kind of like a not even really a competitor in most people's minds, I think, because I had just gotten like a 248, so I wasn't really close, and people didn't know how fast I would improve. Whereas there were people who had like a 241 or like a 242, and so they were a lot closer. But I pushed my PB down quite a bit. I got a 244 and then a 243, 241, whatever. I'm working my way there. And I think once I got a 241, I realized I was actually capable of sub 240, but it wasn't really something I thought would happen because PBing by 2 minutes when you're in like 7th or 8th place just doesn't happen that much. Like usually people have PBs close to their skill level.
Mhm.
And I thought I did at least. So I set a free play record. I think I know why actually. I went back to free play because E Roadhouse had and We Super were both running free play. E Roadhouse wanted to try his hand at it, see if he could get a free play PB that was like in the top 4 or something, and We Super wanted to go get record again, I think. And so I'm not sure if that's when We Super did it, but I just know that it was a pretty active category. And so I went back and I set what I thought, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I set what I thought would be my last ever free play record. It was a 112.39, I think. Yeah, 112.39. And I was really happy with that run. Like, I was very satisfied. I thought that would maybe be my last free play record and that I wouldn't ever need to come back to the category. And I would say that is the next like chapter ending point was that free play run where I felt like I had cemented my legacy in free play. I was like, that is the run I wanted, and I am going to be done with this category, and I feel like I am the best free play runner. And that's what I wanted. That's all I wanted. So I was like, all right, we're done. It's time for any percent. And the beginning of the sub 240 grind chapter is weird because what actually happened was me and another runner that was grinding for sub 240, the Craze Cap. This is the guy who taught me how to do DV1 panel fly for 2 hours. So I knew he was good, but he had also been grinding. And for some reason, we both decided to do a co-op run. This will make sense in a second. But we decided to do a co-op run. We both had 241s, and we beat both of our PBs in co-op with like a lower 241. And I remember at the end of that run, we were just like, what just happened? Like, how did we just do that? Like, that is so ridiculously rare. Like, just to be clear, co-op record right now is like, it's like 8 minutes off solo or something. Like, co-op is so much harder. You have the online delay. You have the just lack of coordination between people. Everyone does things differently. It's just so much harder. And because we did that, I remember we both just sat there and we were like, are we better than a 241? Like, we must be if we just got a 241 in co-op, because that doesn't happen. Like, no one beats their PB in co-op. I think that's the only time that has ever happened. Like, I'm not even kidding. So that led us to both grind for sub 240. And within the span of 2 days, EJP Man got sub 240, the Craze Cap got sub 240, and then I got sub 240, which was really weird because I like walked it in. I got like a 2:39:20 something. Like it wasn't even close. And like I didn't get nervous. I remember how I felt during that run. I didn't get nervous. It was fourth place on the leaderboard. I played really well and I just walked in a sub 240. And I remember alt tabbing at the end of the run to go look at my timer to see what exactly it was. And it said 2:39:28. And I think I had my mic on. And you could just hear me in the recording. I'm like, huh, okay. And then I ended the recording. And I was like, that was a weird feeling. Like I just didn't think it would happen. So I didn't even like pop off or anything, even though this had been a goal that I was grinding for quite a while. But it's important to me that happened because I think that made me realize like I actually am capable of a lot better time in any percent. And so I think for context, it's important to know what the leaderboard looked like at this point, because there was sort of like I would say there was a big gap between people. So E Roadhouse had the world record with a 2:34, I think, and We Super had a 2:36. But We Super he wasn't playing the game anymore. Like he went to go do other Lego games or something. And so then you have the 2:34, you have a 2:36, and then you have the crazed Cap. I think he got a 2:39 like 18 or something. And then there was me, 2:39:28. So I'm in fourth place. And all I need to do to get third place, I think, was to PB by like 20 seconds, which I knew I could do. And obviously, I was satisfied with getting that any percent like time, but it was still COVID and it was the holidays. I didn't have anything else to do, so I was like, screw it. I'll just keep running 80%. Because I think most people like they got sub 240 and stopped, and like definitively that is what happened. Like Zintorian, for example, he's a runner who was grinding for sub 240 around that time. He got a 2:39 in 2020, and that is his current PB. He just never came back. He says that was it. Like that's all he wanted. He wanted a sub 240. The crazed Cap got that time, and I don't think he touched it for like a year. And same with EJP, man. And so that was sort of like what was expected. Like you get the goal time and then you move on, you do something else. And so I was really the only person that actually decided to return after that. And so I came back and I PB'd like immediately. I got like a 2:39:16, which I think was barely third place or barely fourth place. Actually, it's something like, I don't know. The leaderboards are confusing me back then, but oh yeah, because actually I think Ginger Legend was third place, not Cap. So anyway, my goal was to try and get a time I was satisfied with, because I was so far from record that I knew I couldn't get record. I was like 5 minutes away. But I definitely pushed myself a lot during this next period. I got a 2:38, and then I got another 2:38, and I got another 2:38. And this is happening like day by day. Like I was setting these like every day. Like I actually think I set, okay, yeah. So I set a PB on the 20th, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th of December. So this was all happening like just you know, just churning out runs. And that was sort of my first experience with like a grind. Like I was just grinding any percent, and I was practicing every day. I was waking up at a human time, like 8 a.m., which I will never do again. And I was actually speedrunning in the morning before class. Or no, school was on winter break. Okay, I can actually claim that one. I was not skipping class for speedrunning at that point. So, we're good. We're good. But yeah, no, so I was like waking up, just speedrunning, doing runs every day. And I think after my 2:38 or my third 2:38, the next day I tried to do a run, and I couldn't really get much going because I think like I had a 2:38.10, and at that point I was just not really. I didn't really feel like I was capable of that much better of a time, but I knew I had been in that position before, and so I decided that I wanted to like. I was like, well, if I'm not capable of a better time, then I will become capable of a better time, which was the kind of the first time I had done this. So I practiced a lot. I learned a lot, and I played for about 5 days. I would say I think it was like 5 days of trying to do runs, not really getting anything going, and then just saying, all right, I'm just going to practice instead. And then on December 30th, which was very interesting, this happened right before the new year. I got a run going, and it was on place for second place, on pace for second place. Sorry, to beat Wii Super's 236 with like a lower 236. And I barely choked it just a little bit. I got like a 236.21, and I think Wii Super had a 236.08. So I kind of choked it in the last level, but I didn't really care. I was just really happy because that was like definitively in the top three. Like that was probably the start of the period of me becoming like a top runner in any percent. Because I just slowly been grinding my time down, and I finally got a run that like someone who had, years in the game wasn't just going to beat on any given run. Like Sinor wasn't just going to instantly get a 236. He would actually have to work for it. And that felt really good. That was like a big accomplishment for me. And so because of that, I decided that I actually deserved a break. So I actually did stop for a few weeks at that point, which I hadn't really done for a while. So I stopped, enjoyed my holidays, whatever. And I went into the new year. I think I moved out to an apartment. I was in an apartment. We hadn't gone back to school in person yet, so I was just living in an apartment because I had the money because I had been working, and I was like, just try living on my own. And because of that, I had a lot less obligations, in terms of time. More bills to pay, but a lot less like things to do with people around me. Like, when I was in college, I would go to like hang out with my friends all the time, or like go to the Smash tournaments. And at home I would, go interact with my family or go out with friends or whatever. But now that I was in this apartment, I realized that I was going to have actually a lot of time to kind of do whatever I wanted. And it is a little lame that I used that time to speedrun instead. Or at least I thought it was lame at the time, but I don't think it's lame anymore. I will say that I don't think speedrunning is lame, but I'll probably explain that, at the end of this interview, my whole view on why speedrunning is actually good for you. Because I don't think people like to have that opinion anymore, but I have that opinion. I'm one of the remaining survivors with that opinion. So, at that point, that was where my real like grind began. So like when I came back in that January, I think I did like all mini kits or something, which is a 4-hour category. So not really my thing. I didn't get a very good time in it anyway. But I was just having fun. Like I had already gotten the 236 that I wanted, so I was like, let's try all mini kits. Let's try maybe another Lego game, which I did. I played Lego Batman. We won't talk about that period of my life, but
Okay.
anyway, yeah. So then I came back, and I think what happened was E Roadhouse was grinding for free play world record, and I actually saw that, and I didn't want to lose free play world record. Okay, I'm sure most people who have had a world record know the feeling of like, yeah, it's lame to like attach yourself to a world record, but at the same time, no one wants to lose it. Like
No.
I'm gonna defend it always. Like there's no point where I won't defend a record I have. You know, it's an accomplishment. It's something to be proud of. And I think it's just an important thing to like be proud of the times that you get, especially if it's a world record, even if it feels fraudulent or like I only got world record because of like a time save, like a new skip or something. I think it's very good to be proud of those things. And I was proud of my free play world record because I'd worked hard for it. And so I was going to defend it. And so I saw that E Roadhouse was grinding for it. And even though I had already set what I thought would be my last record, I decided that I would kind of go back in and like try to get a really good time so that he couldn't beat it. And I played for like 3 days. And on the third day, I think I got a 111.28. And that run was really good. It for the time, it was actually really good. We're in like early 2021. That's 2.5 years ago. It's that time right now would be like what, sixth on the leaderboard still in free play, which is actually a pretty popular category now. Let me see. Wait, what time would it would be fifth on the leaderboard. So it was actually very good. And I remember I got that time and I DM'd E Roadhouse a picture of the splits. And I was like, I said like, I'm sorry, which in retrospect is a really weird thing to say. Because what I remember now. What I said was, like, how much do you care about getting record and free play? And then he's just like, well, I just like to have it once. And I was like, okay, interesting. And then I waited like 10 seconds and I was like, so I just did that. And then he was like, oh. And I was like, yeah, sorry. But at the same time, I felt like it wouldn't be rewarding for him to achieve that goal if no one was grinding. Because what does it really mean to him if he gets a world record while no one is playing the category? So, I mean, at the time, I don't think he wasn't mad at me necessarily, but he probably wasn't thrilled with the fact that he wasn't getting free play record anymore. And, you know, that was a mentality that I think started to set in for both of us, was like, okay, so it really needs to be a legitimate record now. Like, I think I showed him that it's important to me that getting a free play record means beating someone else and not just getting a time that is first place, but also getting a time that no one can beat. And maybe I dug my own grave by doing that. But he was like, all right, I guess I'll do that for any percent. So that's when I went back to any percent. And this is an interesting like sort of period of my life because it's 2021, probably the most important year for me in speedrunning, especially the next set of months coming up. I don't know how to explain this, but I would say that what sort of solidified was this group of me, Senor, and Ginger. Now, obviously, the three of us have been like top level runners in the game for quite a while at this point. But in 2021, I was the new one. Ginger had been like record capable for a long time, like over a year, not over a year actually, but like half a year at least. Senor had been record capable before I was born. So that was like the three of us were competing in this very interesting way. And this is described in the Summoning Salt video. But the three of us are all grinding because we are not able to get record. We're all going for second place. And I will tell you why we were not able to get record. It's because in December, there is a reason that E Roadhouse actually had gone to free play. It's because in December, late December of 2020, he had brought the record down from a 234.32 to a 231.59. It was like the most insane speedrun I have ever seen. Like, it feels weird. It feels wrong to say that with how competitive so many games are. But like, man, if you were there, you would know. It was just like it was so ahead of his time. It was so like I mean, just thinking about it now, that time right now would be like 12th on the leaderboards. That's insane because this game is very competitive now. Like that is truly crazy. He got a 231 in 2020. Like I will forever say that that is the best Lego run that has ever been done, and it can't be beaten. It really can't because the context now it's just not possible. The game was entering like an era after that run of being truly optimized because that was the first like good run that anyone had ever done in the game's history. So at that point, it was like, well, where do we go from here? And no one really knew what to do because no one's going to beat 90% record. So that's why he did free play. And that's why, you know, me, Senor, and Ginger were competing for second place because that's the best we could have done. You know, none of us were going to get a 231. Like, or I might have said 59. It's 231.49. So yeah, so that was the beginning of that sort of arc of me and Ginger and Senor competing for second, and it was very fun. We were all pushing each other. We're learning from each other. We all had like 236s ish. Senor came back, got a 234. I got a 235.03. Ginger barely gets a 234. Now I get a mid 234. Senor gets a lower 234. Ginger gets like a lower 234. So it's all going back and forth with second place. But eventually, I think Ginger got kind of burned out because what happens when you speedrun for a long time in a row is that you get burned out. Surprise. None of us had really learned that yet, except maybe Senor. But yeah, so Ginger just he just definitely got like too burnt out to kind of keep going. And I don't think he necessarily gave up. I think he just realized that there were better things for him to be doing at the time. And so then it became me and Senor try to hold on to second place challenge while E Roadhouse is sitting there in first place, you know, minding his own business, twiddling his thumbs. And then this part is explained exceptionally well in the Summoning Salt video. But the recap is Senor and I started taking our times down to the point where we were actually getting kind of close to Evan. And I got what I believe to this day is my best speedrun ever. It was the 232.23. I know, not a very impressive time considering it wasn't even record, but it was 30 seconds off record. And that is like the best I've ever played. And like to this day, it's very weird. Like I was not record capable at all. And yet in that run, I was on record pace into the second to last level. It was absurd. I remember keeping this like incredibly positive mindset the whole time. And just kind of generally like I was very focused on staying in it, you know, like being like, all right, I'm so far ahead. Let's just not lose this pace. Let's not worry about like what the time ends up being. Let's just try and close it out. And so I played consistently. I played safely. I played smart. I didn't get tilted at mistakes. And I got a 232.23, which is a time that I was genuinely like elated with. Like I did not want even a 232. I was just hoping for a 233. And then I almost got record, which was crazy. But it was also my first taste of being on record pace. It was the first time that I had ever had that feeling at all. Because, you know, the 231 had been record since December, and we're now into like April or something like that. March, April. And so over those last 3 months that I had been improving, you know, record wasn't really feasible for me until now. And it's important to me that that happened because if I'd gotten record then, it would have been a whole different story. And anyone who's around during that time period knows exactly why, but or has seen the Summoning Sol video, I would assume. Probably also knows why. But yeah, so I got that 232.23, and then CNR got a 233.05. And we both kind of went stagnant for a little bit because uh, I think I think it was just because like no one was running in April because we're all just like finishing out the semester. And when I say no one, I mean like really no one was running at all. And so I did like some other categories, whatever, just stuff that didn't take as much time. And then CNR and I kind of came back in May. Um, and the reason we came back in May, obviously school had ended for both of us, and also school had ended for E Roadhouse. So he decided, hey, these fellows are getting a little close to my time. Might be time to, improve that a little bit, even though he hadn't, come back to the category in 5 months. But he decided it was time to. Um, and so he did come back, and we could immediately tell he was well and truly on another level compared to me and Senor. Like, yes, we had gotten close to his time, but we weren't going to get record if he got any semblance of a decent run going. And he did. He got record by like 5 seconds, and that was what sort of broke the seal. Then he got record by another like 15 seconds or something, or another 10 seconds. And then at that point, it was like, okay, someone can get a sub 230, which is crazy because sub 240 was genuinely believed to be the last 10-minute barrier. And that was back in summer of 2020. And now we're in summer of 2021. And it's like, okay, there's technically another 10-minute barrier, but that's going to be the last one. Because you could only really get a 229. And it's interesting too because technically, like Cena and I were going for a 229, but more so we just wanted to get record because it was still 231. And so we were like, oh, I'll get the first 230 maybe, or I'll get a lower 231, and then maybe there's a chance of a 229. And there was this one day in that month of May where CNR was streaming the night before, so technically was the same day. It was like 4 a.m. And I remember he was streaming. He got on really good pace, and then he lost like a ton of time. Like it could have been record, and he lost like a minute and a half or something, and ended with like a 2:32:30 something. Despite that, he was still only a minute off record, and he's probably not happy about that. And then, I had been grinding this whole time, by the way. It's very difficult to PB when your PB is much better than your skill level. So this grind wasn't doing much of anything. But I started playing again, and I started playing again that day, I should say. And I was on this like really good run. I remember DMing E Roadhouse because we're both streaming, right? And then he goes, "Oh, I just got a 2031 episode 1, which is like that was the best episode 1." And I remember responding to him like 5 minutes later. I just also got a 2031 episode 1. And we were like, what? This is crazy that this is happening. And we're both actually on like really good runs. And like we start to get pretty deep into the game. Like we're in like the third episode now. We're like almost an hour in, and we're both on these like super good runs. And then I started to get tilted because my loads were starting to get really slow. And that was losing me time, which by the way, we were RTA back then. So if your loads were bad, you actually lost time to that. And that was actually tilting me a lot because I was like, this is like a really good run, and I'm getting like screwed over by something I can't control. So that tilt was not good because we started to go into the second half of the run, and I could tell I was tilted. So this is where this sort of combination of runs gets very interesting because Era has obviously a level ahead of me, so our paces are like similar-ish, but like it's hard to compare, right? Because he's played an extra level. So he was, on a better pace than I was. But then I got a community best on 6-2, which is like a level that had like, I think the community best was like, I beat it by like 15 seconds. It was like, because that level is full of RNG, it's full of terrible tricks, and like it's really hard. So like no one was kind of getting that kind of time. And then I got like a huge community gold on that level, and I was like, this is insane. Because now I was like kind of on track with his pace because like that level just went so well. Um, but the rookie that I was got nervous because of that, and it all crumbled from there. That was my first set of nerves I think I have ever really felt in speedrunning. Truly, like I was a mess. I got so nervous for like the whole rest of the run, and E Roadhouse closed it out, and I didn't. He clutched up. He got a 229.57, and I didn't even PB, and I was, oof, that one hurt a lot. That one was like, that one was weird because he's my friend, and of course I want to be happy for him because he just got it. He just broke a 10-minute barrier, and he just got a new world record, and he's got the run, like a really good run, and like I wanted to be super happy for him, but it's hard because he was also my competitor, and like I wanted to be the one to get the 229, or I wanted to have a chance at getting record. So it really did hurt a lot, and I didn't know how to feel. It was this weird like combination of emotions that I didn't sort of understand entirely. And I think what happened was he rated me at the end of his run because, you know, he finished it, got the 229, everyone celebrated, and he's like, all right, Zach's also on pace. Let's go rate him. And right when he rated me, I lost like a minute. And I lost like a minute, and I missed my PB by like 3 seconds. And I just sat there and I was like, this is going to hurt for a long time because I think I truly believed that that would be my only chance to ever get world record in that game. And like, I, I don't know. I thought it was, and I don't think many people disagreed. Like that run that E Roadhouse got was really good. And I remember I talked to Senor that night, and I was like, man, this sucks. Because he was kind of in the same boat. Like he wanted to get a record again. He hadn't had record since the 240 or something, 241, I think is the last time he had record. And now it's down to a 229. And we were pretty distraught. We were like, E Roadhouse is too good. We are never going to get a record ever again. Like that was the end. And so that was hard to handle, to like cope with, I guess. Because at the end of the day, it's really easy to tell yourself a lot of things in speedrunning, to say, I should be happy because he's my friend, or I should be happy because the game just broke a new 10-minute barrier, or to say something like, I don't deserve record because I wasn't the best runner on that day. And you can tell yourself all these things, but when it comes down to it, the emotions that like build up when you are competing with people are just impossible to control. You're gonna be sad. That's just how it is. And it was an important lesson for me to learn because I don't think I would have known what it was like to lose. It felt like I just played Evo Grand Finals and lost. Like it felt like I'd lost, even though it wasn't really a 1v1, or like a 2v1 or whatever you consider it. It wasn't really a direct competition, but in my head it was. And so I didn't like that feeling. And I had to take a good week or so to just think about how that felt. Because I was like, dude, I don't think I'm gonna keep speedrunning if that's what it's gonna be. Because, you know, like that is what it is. To be honest, that's what a lot of speedrunning is. Um, and I'm sure like it's only super relatable at the high level in like a decently popular game, sure. But if you've been there, you've been there, and you know how it feels to lose record, and you know how it feels for someone to get to a goal time before you, or to watch someone overtake you. You just know how it feels, and it just hurts. It's so hard to handle because there's nothing you can do because the only person who could have played better is you. That is the brutal part of speedrunning, is that it's always on you.
I
And
felt this
it
many
is,
times, so yeah.
yeah. And it is hard. It's hard because like there's nothing else like it. There's no sport, there's no esport that's truly like speedrunning in that way. But that's also part of why I like it, and that's why I've always liked it, because I believe that if I can do something, then I will do it. And so like if all it takes is grinding and believing in yourself, then that's fine. You know, like I can do that, but it's going to be hard. And that's what I was telling myself for about a week, and I wasn't helping at all. But that was sort of how I got through that period, was the like, hey, if all I need is time, I have time, you know? Maybe that was my only chance, but maybe it wasn't. And that was sort of what I talked about with Cena, was like, maybe that wasn't our only chance. But what happened after that was a little weird, because I think neither of us expected the next result to happen, which was that like a minute and a half of new skips were found. And then we were like, oh, okay, that changes things. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. And so because of that, we were like, well, I know what I have to do. And so we start grinding again immediately. Like it brought us back to the game. But I will say one thing. They were not a minute and a half of free time save. That was the problem. Those two tricks were awful. I mean, horrible at the beginning. Like library skip was a 30-second time save, which I'm going to be honest, it was basically just RNG for about 3 months. Like it was not consistent. No one had it consistent. It was just, yeah, we couldn't figure it out. And then DV2 skip, it's in Cloud City Trap, right? It's at the end, saves a minute, and it just happens to be the hardest skip in the game, you know, in the last 8 minutes of the 2.5 hour run, of course. Yeah. And when I say the hardest skip in the game, I mean like it's really hard. It's like I would say it's like carpetless hard, like. Ooh, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I will briefly touch on this, that 120 got shaken up by carpetless, right? Happens to be in the second to last stage of the longest category in that game, and it happens to be the hardest trick in the game that saves a minute in the last level, second to last level, and it, you know, completely obsoleted the current record. And I was like, huh, first time. Like I've seen this before, and I know how it feels. Yeah. And it's interesting because like I'm watching these people go through exactly what Roadhouse went through when a 1 minute time save is found on the second to last level. He had record, and now his record is completely obsolete because it doesn't have DV2 skip in it. And it's really hard to get that time save, so you're not even going to beat it instantly. So it shakes things up a lot at this point, because Roadhouse had to go away for a little bit. And so it was actually pretty much just Senor and I grinding for a record. And when I say grinding, I mean Senor was grinding. Like, he was playing pretty much every day. But I was really grinding. That was like, you know, Summoning Salt may have seemed to exaggerate it a little bit in the video, but I would say starting in the middle of May or maybe early May, like as soon as school ended, I was going 12 hours a day for about a month. Jesus. Maybe some days 14 hours, some days 16 hours. I would. I'm gonna be brutally honest here. I would wake up at like 5 p.m. I was
Yeah.
waking up at like 4 or 5 p.m. and then streaming until like 6 a.m. Yeah, Pickle was there. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. streams. Those were typical. And I would do like hours of practice, and those hours of practice, bro, I would sit there and do DB2 skip for like an hour and a half every day. And oh man, I cannot even get started on how much I hated that trick. Oh my god, I hated it so much. It actually ruined my life. Like I practiced it for like so many hours and I did not get it down. I spent probably would be a good I'm going to say I spent 200 hours practicing that trick that summer. I'm not even exaggerating.
Whew.
And I just couldn't figure it out. Like I cared so much about being the only one to get this consistent because I was like I knew that was what it would take. Like I saw the win condition, right? I saw like, hey, I'm gonna be the only one who can do this, and that will make me the best 90% runner. It's right there in front of me. I just got to do it. And then I don't know, God or something was like, nope, no, you can't do that actually. And so I had that extreme like mental block of trying to figure that trick out. And I think I kind of got to a point where I was getting it down a little bit. Um, and that is when Senor ruined everything. That's how I'm going to put it. So I was on pace for record many times, which I mean, like, makes sense, right? I have a minute and a half of time save. It's not easy to get. I'm still not quite close to that level. And the thing about the 229.57 is that it was actually a really good run. So beating it, like, you couldn't just be like, oh, just play within a minute and a half. Like, that's actually kind of hard to do. So I had to get a lot better. And when I did, I started getting on pace towards the end. But for the most part, I wasn't really getting anything into DB2 skip that was even doable. And when I did, it would just die. So I remember I finally got a run with a third try DB2 skip or something. And I golded CCT. And I was like, I was a gold and it was the first sub 4. And I was like, it was like a 359. I was like, oh, okay, so the universe just wants this to happen. Like my BBT is like 10 seconds below record or something, so it's like barely possible. But the nice thing is the last level is consistent if you're good. And so I'm like shaking super hard, obviously. I get past the hard trick in the last level, door clip. I get past it, first try. I'm feeling good. And then I get to this is gonna get memed so much. I get to box clip. Now you see box clip. This is an interesting trick because there's 2 tricks in this level. There's door clip and there's box clip. With door clip, it's actually quite tricky. You have to like maneuver your way through a door with timing your jumps pretty precisely. So that one is generally where your runs die if they're gonna die in that level. And then box clip, on the other hand, is like, I'm just gonna say it. It's free. It's actually free. You just like walk into the wall and fly through it. It is actually pretty free. Like you'll look at a runner who has like a 330 and they will get it first try probably. And so you can probably tell where this is going.
A little bit.
I get to the trick, and for some reason, like I've never actually explained what happened here before because I don't like talking about this moment. But
exclusive content.
yeah, so what you do is you push R2 into the wall with a box, and then you walk into R2, and that'll clip him through the wall, and then you can just fly over through the wall onto the other side, and that's it. That's all a skip. So I pushed the box into the wall, and I got on the box, and like something in my brain, I just went like, I don't remember how to do this. Like, I don't know what happened. I actually forgot how to do it. Like, I was like, I think you I think you fly first or something. I did not know what to do. So I was like, all right, relax, just take a second and let muscle memory take over. That was a big mistake because I walked into the wall and I just didn't fly. And then I was like, why did I do that? And then like the thing is, if you die, if you don't fly, he dies and he respawns. That loses like 5 seconds or something.
Mhm.
And so at this point, I needed to get it second try. And if I did, I would get record by like 2 seconds, which I was like, oh, that's fine with me. I'll take that. I'm not going to complain if that happens. And then I actually did the trick correctly, and my hands were shaking so much. Like I was literally, it was like this kind of shaking. Like
Yeah.
my hands are shaking so much. I'm holding down the fly button, and then like, not even because my hands are shaking, but just some weird part of my brain just let go of the A button. Like I just let go of it, and I was like, "What am I doing?" Like I don't know how it happened. I will never know why that happened. Something like the pressure was just too much. Like it was just too much pressure for me. It was like my life's goal at that point to get record. And like I did that to myself. I built this up way too much and I couldn't clutch it out because like my body just didn't let me do it. And like it's completely my fault. Like this isn't an excuse, This is like it's my fault. Like it shouldn't have happened and I wouldn't let it happen again. But it was just a weird sort of like awakening for me where I was like I need to learn to deal with loss better because I lost that run and I didn't even finish it. Okay. My PB was like, I don't even know if I had a 230. Yeah, I had a 230.53. So like I could have PB'd by a minute still, but I was so upset that I didn't even finish it.
Mm.
And I just sat there. I remember I like unmuted on my stream and I was just like, I don't know what to do, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't think I can keep doing this. And like, I just did some like sad boy speech. You've probably heard it before, whatever. Um, everyone gives that speech at some point in their speedrunning career. Like the like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I'm just not made for it. I'm not good enough. Blah 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 blah. And then I just ended stream and I went downstairs at like 5 a.m. and I just sat on my couch in my living room and I just sat there like staring off into the distance and just being like why couldn't that have just gone correctly? Like why did that have to happen to me? Like such a like it's not a big deal, but like to me it really was. Like that was I think bottom 3 lowest points I've ever been at in my life. Like it was bad. It was really bad. I talked to Senor. I talked to Senor that night because he was grinding with me and like Senor is pretty good at talking to people and like neither of us knew what to say. I was just like it's just like I can't believe that I threw away that chance. Like it was right in front of me. And part of our conversation revolved around him explaining to me that like I will always have another chance. No matter how far gone it seems, there will always be a second chance because that's just how it is. And I was not feeling it. I remember Senor told me about this time that when record was a 240.03, so it was almost sub 240, and everyone was grinding for sub 240. And Senor was going to be the first one to do it, and he's in the last level, and he loses like 50. Was it 50 seconds? I can't remember if it was that run, but I know that he choked in the last level, and he got a 240.04. So not only did he not get record, he didn't get sub 240, and he also didn't move up on the leaderboard at all. And that I remember he was telling me about was just like horrible for him. And so he was telling me about like how he handled that situation. Like he was like, I just stopped speedrunning the game for 6 months, and I was like, well, that's not not what I want to do. But I mean, sometimes that's just what you got to do. Like some people just do that, and like it can help. Um, but yeah, it was definitely the probably like the one of the worst days of my life. Just terrible. I was so like feeling so horrible about it. And you know what's weird? I woke up the next morning and I that whole month I had this like drive, this like real drive that it wasn't like I never know how to explain this to people because I think if you have felt it, you know how it feels. And if you haven't felt it, it just won't make sense to you. It was not that I wanted to get record. It was literally that I needed to get record. Like I had to do it. Like I don't know how to explain it better than that. I just had to. Like there was nothing else I could do besides get record. I was like I had to do it. I had to wake up every morning. That was the only thing I could think about. I wasn't doing it to myself. I just felt like that. Like it was just like something was guiding me to do it. The Holy Spirit or whatever. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But I don't know what it was. Like something was just forcing me to do it. And I woke up that next morning and for the first time in like 2 months, I did not feel it. I was like, huh. Like I just feel like I could just not go for record now. And I think that it would feel better because I didn't want to deal with that feeling again. Like I didn't want to ever feel that way in my life ever again. Like it's like losing something that you never had to begin with. It's such a weird feeling of that like detachment that you're forced to do. Most people don't have to experience things like that. Like in life, that's not a normal human emotion to go through. Like getting attached to this 2.5 hour run and then losing it, like that's pretty unique. That doesn't happen to most people. And so there's not a whole lot of pros, I should say, on how to deal with that. And so I kind of was forced to figure it out on my own. Um, and so I took that day to just let myself not think about speedrunning for one day, just to see. Because man, that is all I had thought about for like half a year. So I was like, let's just stop for now. Let's just see. Let's just see if I feel better not doing anything. And yeah, surprise, surprise, I did feel a lot better because I was addicted. And of course, like it's not going to feel good when you're resetting. I should say, like, also, I had like, in that like month, I had like 2,000 attempts. It was bad. Like I was also just resetting constantly. It was just not enjoyable. And, shocker, I felt a lot better that day, not doing any speedrunning. And sort of from there, I think I learned like the most valuable lesson, which is just to learn how to detach yourself from the situation, to like take a step back, And I think it's really important with like anything that you do that's serious to be able to take a step back and look at like what is happening. Because when I like take a mental step back and look at the big picture, I'm like, yeah, it's a Lego game, you know? That's about as simple as it is. Like, yes, it's serious. Yes, I put a lot of my life into it and I wouldn't downplay that. But it is just a game and it is just a speed run and it is not going to ruin my life if I don't ever get record again. And I don't know why it took me until that moment to really think about that, but it did. Sometimes you learn things in a brutal way.
It took me a
And
while, so I get
yeah,
it. I totally get it.
yeah. I mean, like it's definitely like hard to. It's easy to understand, and it's hard to actually like do. Like it's easy to be like, okay, I know I need to just take a step back and relax. But when you're in the moment, it's so hard.
Oh my
It's
god.
so hard to not just whine about everything that's going wrong or like just blame the game or blame yourself or whatever it is. Like, it's so hard not to do that.
It took me 5 years and I'm still bad at it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is hard. But that was like sometimes the quickest way to have a lesson taught to you is for you to get smacked in the face by the consequences. And that's what happened to me. And so, that next day I chilled out, and the day after that I chilled out, and I just let myself relax, and I was like, let me think about this, because speedrunning is mental, and I had been neglecting my mind for too long. And so I talked with Chimkin. Shout out to Chimkin, cool guy. Chimkin is a former world record holder and someone who had been speedrunning Lego games a lot longer than I had, and also just happens to be older than me. And I figured, because he was like, I think he's like 3 years older than me, I figured he would just know more about this stuff. And so I talked to him, and I think I asked him, like, what do I do if I don't get record ever again? And his response was like, no one will look at you differently. That's not, verbatim, but it was pretty much the idea of like, people won't see you as a different person. And at the end of the day, your time that you get in the game is not equivalent to what you are as a person. And that is why I appreciate the community that we have in the Lego speedrunning, like, space, because the people care a lot more about you as a person than just what your time is. And I think that's important, because that's why I stuck around. That's why I like them so much. And yeah, it was a meaningful conversation that really taught me, like, not everything is comprised of the accomplishments that you set. On the other hand, though, I still wanted to do it. Like, I did understand that, and I think it helped me, like, cope with the loss. But the motivation started to come back when we decided we were going to have a break the record event, and I was like, you know what? Let me be part of something. Let me just grind, and let's just see where it goes. With no expectations, let's just do it again. Um, so we had the in-person break the record event, which was awesome. It was a 4-person event. It was me, Seymour, Wee Super, and E Roadhouse, and it was just an awesome week of my life. My first time meeting any people from speedrunning in person, and it was so cool. Like, I am so glad that happened, and that's why I love the speedrunning community so much. All the like times I've been able to hang out with speedrunners in person have been so fun. Some of my closest friends and the coolest people I've met are from that community. So, yeah, we had that week, and I did win the event, but oh man, that event was brutal. I made a compilation afterwards of it was like 20 record paces or something that died to DV2 skip, something like that.
Like, by everyone in total?
Yeah, by everyone in total.
Got it.
And that was over the course of 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus. And that was bad. But at least we were all in it together, and like, genuinely, that is why it felt not as upsetting as before, because I was there, a foot away from E Roadhouse. I would have my run die miserably somewhere, and I would turn around, and then he would just be having the same thing happen, and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone's going through this. And it was quite the event. I did PB with a 2:30:16. So that was second place, but it was not first. So I was the only one that PB'd, I think. Actually, we super PB'd, but he didn't go up on the leaderboard, I think. So, yeah, it was sort of like, it was a good event, I think, from a viewer perspective, to see all those paces, but it did kind of suck that no one got a 2:29 during that event or beat the record. But I will say that right before that event is when Cino ruined everything, because I believe, like, a couple days before BTR, Senor had actually gotten record back. So he actually got a 229.37. And that was frustrating for me, but I don't think I really was too bothered by it at first because like he didn't destroy record, you know. Like it was going to be a little bit harder, but I was able to handle the fact that he had gotten it. What really annoyed me was just that he got it and I didn't, because I felt like, excuse me, I felt like I had been grinding for so much more. But that's just the way it goes, you know. You don't deserve something just because you put a certain amount of time into it, and
Mhm.
I think I knew that.
And that was
So
thanks in part to the new skips, right? A little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
by far the uh, the time save in that run was from that. Like the run in terms of execution was definitely not as good as the 229.57, but yeah. So all right. So I guess I went up to third place, not second place, with my 230.16. But anyway, I won BTR, and I was like pretty happy about that because that was my goal at least. I was like, even if I don't get record, it'd be cool to win this event. And I came home from BTR, and E Roadhouse was at BTR, but after BTR, he was no longer going to be able to play. So it was going to be just me and Senor again. But Senor had already gotten record, so I think he was burnt out at that point. He was like, all right, I'm going to take a break for now. So then there was one. And I would say that the grind I did after BTR was just idiotic. Like honestly, I don't know why I did that. It was so stupid of me. I went back to the like, oh that's right, yeah, Senor had a trip. So I went back to the like 16-hour grind kind of thing, and like I wasn't even practicing anymore. I was
Oh.
just like doing runs and not even getting past the first level for hours, wasn't taking breaks, wasn't eating. Like I was
Mm.
eating maybe once a day, maybe.
Okay.
It was really stupid. Like I don't know why I was doing that. So this is the part in the summoning salt video where he goes, and he put like 200 at 300 hours in, and he didn't even PB. And it's like, well, that's why. Okay,
Mhm.
that's obviously why. And I think that it's very important that people hear that because it sounds like it should have worked. Like, oh, I put in so much time. No, please, God, do not ever do that. Anyone ever, do not do that.
Yeah.
It is terrible. I will say though, it did, um, it did allow me to like build up this like devotion to this grind that like I was so committed that like nothing else mattered in my life. Which, let's just say, when you have a girlfriend, not not generally not good, not good. But regardless, um, I I was so committed to this that I just kind of like kept doing this 16-hour grind thing. I definitely took a step back and I was like, let's take some breaks. You know, let's practice a little bit. Let me eat more than once every 2 days. So I've kind of fixed that, but like that, yeah, it was not as unhealthy anymore. But I still was grinding like 12 to 14 hours a day, and like I wasn't taking any days off. That was the weird thing. I don't know why. I just didn't have anything else to do. I was like, it's summer. Like I don't have a job at this point. I didn't have I don't know. I didn't really have anything else, so I was just like no days off. And there was one day where I got a really really good run. Like this run, so the record at this point is a 229.37. My BPT was like a 228 like 40,
Hmm.
45 or something into the second to last level. And I go to do DB2 skip and I got it first try. Unfortunately, the thing about DB2 skip is that there's like 6 parts to it. There's the setup, there's clipping out of bounds, there's moving out of bounds, and then there's hitting the trigger. So there's like four parts. And when I was going to hit the trigger at the end of the trick, I fell like a pixel too low and killed myself. And that alone loses like 30 seconds. And then, of course, being the choke master that I am, I just missed it like 6 more times after that. It's losing like another like 30 seconds. And then I finished the run with a 229.44. That one was not good. I think it was a 229.42 or something. So that was 5 seconds off record, and I lost a minute on DV2 skip after hitting it first try, which is like yikes.
Yeah.
So that one was bad too. But I don't think there was no more like heart shattering loss. At this point, I was just like pissed off. I was like, okay, well, that's annoying. Like, I'm just mad now. So I just like put some angry comment in my description and submitted it. And I was like, oh, great. I'll just try again, I guess, because this game sucks. And that was sort of like the mentality I had at that point. Like, I was no longer a broken man. I was just an angry old man at that point. Just going back and doing the same thing every day. And I had another run that actually hit DV2 first try, and then I lost like 30 seconds on door clip. It was going to be like a low 229. I lost like 30 seconds on door clip, and it was just barely too much to get record anymore. Like it was going to be like a 1 second PB or something. And so I remember I finished the run, and I didn't actually finish the run. I killed all the guys at the end, all the stormtroopers. I'm about to walk into the door, and I just like sat there, just looking at my timer, slowly seeing the time go past record, and I just looked at it and I just waited, and it was at like 229.59, and I walked into the door, and I was like, I don't know why I did that, but I was like, well, I guess I should take another 229. But those like 15 seconds where I was sitting there, I like didn't want to even finish the run, even though it was gonna PB by like a second. I just didn't want to finish it. I was like, I'm so like ashamed that I just want to not even do anything. Um, yeah, so that was it. Like I just completed the run at 229.59 because I don't know, I was like pissed off or something. And after that, um, I realized like that was really stupid. Like I was like, what am I doing? Like that was a PB. Like I can't just be like acting like a child because that's the reason that I'm falling apart at the end of the run is because I'm not keeping it together. And that was kind of like a weird wake up call for me where I was like, maybe I need to actually just stop being like dumb about this. Like I just need to look at it like, okay, take the 1 second PB or it's not a PB and then you just move on. Like just do it. And I think that was sort of like connected with detachment. Like I was like, I don't care about these runs anymore. Like I had choked so many times, dude, that I did not care anymore. So the next time I was on record pace and it died in like Falcon Flight or something, which is towards the end of the run as well, I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't even care. And so then I finally had this one run. And the interesting context of this run that doesn't get talked about in the Summoning Salt video is I was going on vacation for a week. And then after vacation, I was going back to school because, you know, college was back in person. So it's like, not August. It's like, or well, no. Hold on. I was going on vacation for a week, and then I was going on vacation for like a month, and then I was going back to school. So basically, after this day, because I was going on vacation the next day, after this day, I wasn't really going to be able to run for like a while, like a long time. So yeah, so I'm there on my last day, and it's like what 4 a.m. probably. Pickle Toe was there. I know Pickle Toe was there. Um, and you know, you got the European people in my chat because it's like morning for them, and very few people are there to see it. But I got on 7 a.m. Yeah, it was 7 a.m. actually. It was like 7 a.m. And of course I hadn't gone to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So we were leaving at 9 a.m. the next day. I actually remember this now. And so I'm like on a run. My BPT into Cloud City Trap is like a 228, like 16. Like it's crazy pace. And then I actually hit it first try. Like I can't believe that I did that on that run. I hit it first try. I had these unbelievable nerves. But the thing is, when you enter the last level with like over a minute of leeway, it's not going to die. Like I just knew it. Like I could just feel it. I was like, I was like, you know what? There are points where I probably will choke in my life, but this is not one of them. Like I've gotten this far. I closed it out with like a pretty good last level. Um, I kept it together, and I got a 2:28:28, which
Jeez.
is an iconic time. It's like a over a minute record. It was a minute and a half faster than E Roadhouse's original world record. This was like a period of my life that I will never forget. Um, I did not joke or laugh in the hallway. You're thinking of Jared, but anyway, yeah. So I go back and look at the video sometimes because all these streams I did with no mic and no cam because I wanted to really focus. And right at the end of the run, when the door is opening to walk in, I unmuted because I wanted to say something. I unmuted because I wanted to like say words,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just started like crying. I don't know. I was like so like overwhelmed. I was like I just kept looking at the timer. Like I don't know why, but I like kept looking at it and being like, that's my time. Like I just got like I just it was so weird. This like insane like spurt of emotions where I first I'm in shock, then I'm like happy, then I'm like in disbelief again because like the time is actually pretty good. And like I remember I was so detached from this run that I don't remember like anything about the run, dude. I don't remember any of the splits. I don't remember like how good any of the levels were or like I don't remember anything. I was so like locked in and just not attached to the run itself that like when I finished, I was like I didn't even realize the time was that good. Um and that was my biggest accomplishment ever in my entire life was that run. And that's probably why I cried so much because I didn't I didn't think that I was even like capable of doing something like that, but apparently I was.
Absolute
Um,
clutch too.
it was a clutch. Yeah, I didn't think I had the clutch in me. I didn't think I had the grind in me. I didn't think I had any of that. Um, but it made me realize that like when you don't give up, you have to accomplish your goal. Like it's impossible to fail if you don't give up, right? You just keep going. And that's always been my like my my point of view. Like I've heard that it's kind of like a you can't fail if you don't give up. Like that's like kind of like a dumb thing to say. Like everyone's heard that before, but it just is true. Like the failure is giving up because that is when you decide whether you've succeeded or failed. And so in my mind, I realized that if I don't give up, I haven't failed yet. I just haven't succeeded yet. Um, and that's what got me to that point. That's what got me that first record, which will always be my favorite run I've ever done because, of course, it means so much to me that that happened. And it's also very cool to me that that record stood for like 7 months
Oh wow.
because that doesn't happen.
No.
Usually they stand for like a month. But I think it's so iconic that it stood until like beginning of the next year, from all the way from June, and it was just like it was like it was like I completed that chapter. Like that was truly the end moment for me. Like I wasn't gonna be done with speedrunning or anything, but I was like, well, I'm going back to school. I did what I wanted, going through like a big change in my life now. Lots of things were changing, and I just didn't really speedrun for 6 or 7 months. Um, that was kind of like that was kind of it at that point. Like I knew it could be beaten because E Roadhouse almost beat it by a lot right after that, but TV2 skip was just too brutal. Like no one really ran the game, and at that point anymore. Like yeah, it was just this like end of a long saga, if you will, um, a long era that I didn't know would ever happen. And yeah, it was just like this incredible feeling that I carried for months and months. That like even though I was going through some pretty bad stuff during those months unrelated to speedrunning, I still remembered like I got through the hardest period of my life in those months in that summer. Even though the hardest period of my life was a loss I felt in speedrunning, like yeah, I probably had it pretty easy if that's the case, right? But you know, it is what it is. Like I got through it and I was just satisfied. So that is where I guess the like that chapter comes to a close because, you know, after that it's all the Zach show, you know, 18 records in a row or whatever. Not in a row, but 18 records I think at this point. Um have the longest time held out of any person in the game's history.
Mm.
Um of any percent record. I've also had record in free play, all mini kits, all canisters, prequels, replay story, whatever. I at that point I sort of completed what I wanted to, and since then I've been able to like really come into my own as a runner and be one of the best any percent runners, which I'm happy about. But the whole story I would say after that is pretty much right there in the summoning salt video. I think everyone knows the deal because everything after that is a world record. So yeah, that's kind of how I got to that point, and I'm very glad it happened. I'm glad that that grind happened, which is why I do. I guess this is when I want to talk about why I think speedrunning is good for you because it is about self improvement. Like that's what speedrunning is. It's improving your own time, but at the crux of it, you're improving yourself as like a person. You're learning how can I not only become faster at this game, how can I also learn to deal with loss better? How can I learn to, you know, pay attention more to my peers or to listen for advice or ask for help? Or how can I learn to improve as a, you know, someone who's practicing or like improve in the heat of the moment, handle nerves better. All these things you have to figure out on your own. And there's so few avenues to really do that. Like that is a unique thing to speedrunning. That is why it's important because I wouldn't have learned to handle those types of situations or emotions without speedrunning. And I'm glad I learned to handle them because I've had to go through things since then where without that experience, I would have felt very lost. But the notion that I can do anything I put my mind to is the way that I stay confident these days. And that wouldn't have happened without that experience that I went through. And staying confident is obviously very important. Every speedrunner knows that. You know, you got to be confident. You got to be smart, and it's just important to have those like traits, I guess. And that's where I got them from. So I will forever be in debt for what that horrible, awful grind did for me, and how much I learned from it. Even though, yeah, it sucks, but it's over. So,
Got over it.
um, but yeah, like we super said, the moral is that Lego Star Wars puts every single person who plays it through a traumatic experience,
Sounds
but in a
fun.
good way. Yeah. You know, not everyone has to go through what I did. I think there's people who have come into the game, like Frostbite, we saw start playing the game last December and sort of rose up to a top level without those battles that I had to face. And it's because he had already learned how to speedrun. Like it was just a learning experience for me when your first game is this one, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very difficult because it's a long run and there's a lot to learn from. But I am very happy with the point that it got to because my priority since that first record has always been to push the game as much as I could. Um, and I think I did that. I think I've done that alongside some people like Xenor, some people like Wii Super, some people like E Roadhouse. We've all wanted to push the game as far as we could, and now you're not going to come into the game for the first time and set a record in a few months. That's just not really possible anymore. So yeah, that's that part of it. Obviously, there's the whole deal with getting a summoning salt video. That is different. That is a separate saga, I guess, because I never thought that would happen. God, I never thought that would happen. It's sort of interesting. We used to talk about that as a meme, because like our game wasn't that big, but the story about it is not too long anyway. It was pretty much just that Summoning Salt joined our Discord server, like for the game, and I was like, oh, that's the real Summoning Salt. So what I did is I gave him access to all the channels, because normally you need to have the speedrunner role to see some of the channels,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to have like actually run the game to get that role. But I decided that he would get the role because he's Summoning Salt. I think that's fair, right? Pretty fair.
Yeah.
So I did that. I gave him the role, and then I sent him a message, which I don't know if I can make this focus. Some people did not want me to send that message because it looks a little desperate for me to reach out to him, right? Like I completely understand that, but I wonder if I can go find the message. We have a lot of DMs.
Yeah. Why else
Okay, I
did he
said,
join though, right?
well, yeah, I said, hey man, just saw you join the TCS speedrunning Discord. It's sick AF to have you here. Super shitty situation with your last video. I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
allowed to swear.
Mega
Have been
Man.
following all that stuff, and I'm hoping your next video gets treated better. And that was a Mega Man video. That did suck.
Oh yeah.
And so I sent him that on October 4th of 2022. And then 4 days later, on the 8th, he said, "Hey, sorry for not responding earlier." Actually, before I read this message, I will say I saw the icon, and immediately my reaction is like, oh my god, it's some random person like DMing me about like getting unbanned in the Lego server or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to click on it and I was like, Salt? What is that? And then so I click on it and I was like, oh my god. So immediately I was like, okay, code red. I need to talk to someone. So I called Pickletoe on Discord. Pickletoe doesn't talk, by the way, so that was an interesting call. I called him and he's just typing and I'm talking to him. But like the thing is, it was like 10 a.m. or something, so no one was up because everyone wakes up at 2 p.m. as a speedrunner. So I like didn't have anyone else to go to, so I went to Pickletoe and then I added EJP Man to the call because they were both awake, and I added them, and I'm just like, guys, you don't understand what's happening right now. And it's funny too because part of the story is he actually wasn't sure if he wanted to do our game. He was debating between doing our game and doing Lego Star Wars 1, which is the hour-long any percent run. It's the game that came out for the GameCube. And I had to explain why our run would be better for the video. Believe me, I've never felt more pressure than that moment when I'm having that conversation. And I was like, we were like, okay, guys, we gotta figure something out because this is the problem, right? Our game has like 90 any percent records. Okay, the run is 2.5 hours long, which is why the video he made on our game is the longest one he had ever done by a lot. It was like an hour and a half because we have so many records. Whereas Lego Star Wars 1, on the other hand, didn't have as many. The run was only an hour long. It's a lot easier to explain. It's a lot simpler. But I didn't want him to do it on a different game. So we were like, okay, guys, we got to come up with a good reason here for why he should pick us. Luckily, history wrote itself because that game has had a spliced record before. And so he found that out, and I was like, yeah, maybe don't talk about that game then. And he was like, okay, sure, I guess. And so like, after a pretty long conversation, I started to explain like, everything aside, if you actually do want to do that game, here's who to reach out to. And if you do want to do our game, you can reach out to me, these record holders, blah, 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 whatever. And the whole time he's telling me like, don't tell anyone I'm doing this, right?
Mhm.
Because he likes to keep it a secret. Um, I I would say that I did a good job keeping my mouth shut after I told two people immediately. That was
Mhm.
stupid. I shouldn't have done that,
Uh-oh.
but it was fine because they just ended up helping with the video anyway.
Mm.
Um, so he eventually decided on it, and so we formed this group. It was me, EJP Man, Pickletoe, which is actually the thing is about those two people is that they're very good at finding resources and knowing all these things and like just knowing history. So it was actually good that they were able to help. So it was EJP Man, Pickletoe, me, Wee Super, Senor, Chimkin, and E Roadhouse. So it was basically the two of them and then all the former world record holders besides a couple.
Mhm.
All the ones that are still active. So I thought that was a pretty good team, and it was the biggest team he'd ever worked with, but it was kind of necessary because I don't know. Have you seen the behind the scenes video that
Yeah, I
we
watched that.
super yeah, you know, we have quite a few pages and pages of documents that
Just
he needed.
just a couple.
Yeah, like a total of like 130 pages, I
My
think.
god.
And you know, because of that, we had to do a lot of research for him, help him understand things, help him know who people are. We wrote some storylines for him. Um, we wrote some very in-depth storylines for him, which I think helped a lot because he ended up using those as the storylines in the video, which was I think really good. Um, and yeah, so we're working through it. We almost didn't leak it to a single person. Unfortunately, Senor is like notorious for leaking things, so we kind of knew
Oh.
it would happen eventually. Um, but he only leaked it to one person, and luckily it was like someone that we're all pretty close with, and it didn't get further than that. It got leaked to only one person in our community and zero others. So that was really good. I didn't even tell my parents about it. Okay, I was like, this cannot get out to anyone. So keep that in mind. Like our friends, our community, they didn't even know about this. And like what was interesting is that we were making a world record progression video on our game sort of very slowly. And when that happened, uh, we just kind of like deleted all the stuff in that server. And we were like, I'm just going to assume no one is going to notice that no one is using that server anymore because no one was really working on it anyway. So, like, no one did notice. It's a funny thing. And so we used some of those resources for summoning salt instead and got rid of them from that server. And then the day came, um, and E Roadhouse and I had been grinding any percent before the video came out because you want to be the one that gets we're finally landing at the end of the video, of course. E Roadhouse was the one who ended up getting record right before the video came out, and then I remember this as well. Actually, I was on pace to get like a 20-second record the day before the video released, and I missed a box clip again,
Oh my god.
and then I missed record by 3 seconds. I was so mad. Like there's a certain element of heartbreak that comes to sometimes when you lose a run. Like I'm sure everyone's felt that.
Mhm.
But that one, I was just pissed off. I just like slammed my controller down and I just shouted some obscenities, which I've never done before. I've never done that ever in my life. Like I'm
Like you
not
don't
even kidding.
shout fuck all the time?
Well, I don't shout it, okay,
Okay,
but like
okay.
I actually just yelled it, and like I just like, all right, you know what? That's it. I'm ending stream. I'm gonna forget this ever happened, and I was pissed off, dude. I was not happy about that. I definitely did the like take my controller and I just went fuck, and then I just ended stream,
Hell yeah.
and then I was so annoyed because like I just want I was like, dude, I was literally about to be the clutch last record the day before the video, and I was like, you know what, whatever, dude, who cares? We're getting a summoning salt video. Like I got over it pretty quickly. Um, and yeah, the day that video came out was very cool because we had like this plot to try and get everyone in VC together without telling them that Summoning Salt was doing a video on us. So what we did is we had we played golf with friends, and we did like
Awesome.
a 15-person golf with friends game. And I don't know how we managed we got everyone that we were trying to get in a call. Like it just happened to turn into the biggest golf with friends game we've ever done. And it just like randomly by chance on that day, everyone just happened to be in the VC. And yeah, we were convincing people like really hard. I don't know how no one was on to us. They're like we really wanted people in this golf with friends game. And then right as the round ended that we were playing, the summoning salt video was starting. And so someone was sharing their screen. I think it was Pickletoe was sharing a screen. And I said like, "Oh, you guys might want to watch this one." Because like usually like we'll at least want to see what the game is, right? Like we're just
Mhm.
curious. And so it's on the stream starting soon screen or whatever, and then it transitions and it's like footage of the first level.
Yeah.
And I forget, someone was just like, because it's just we're finally landing, and then negotiations from Lego Star Wars, and I think the crazed cap is just like, what the fuck? Like it's just like no one, like everyone was just like so shocked because like hadn't mentioned anything about this to any of them. Yeah, it was Parker, and then like people like just could not believe it, and then they were like, what, who knew about this? And we were like, we may have known about this a little bit, slightly. um and then we got their first reaction to that whole video, and it was so crazy. Like we have like everyone basically just watching this video that they didn't know was going to even happen. um it was so cool. And then I remember like I got an interview. I was the second interview he's ever done, I think, because the first one he had done was for the Mega Man video, and that interview is so funny because what happened was the day before the video released, he DM'd me on Discord and was like, "You want to do an interview?" And I'm like, I'm in class, and I'm like, "Yeah, when is it gonna happen?" He was like, "It would have to be right now," and I was like, "Let me think about this." And then I just left. I was just like, you know what? Yeah, no, I'm doing the interview, dude. I don't care. I'm not like, this is too important to turn down. And I'm glad I did. So I was only like 5 minutes early. Okay, so it wasn't that bad. But um, yeah, I came back. I did the interview. He was pressed for time on this video. Like I'm telling you, he like was rendering it while the stream was live.
Hmm.
Like it was like he finished editing it, the like he sent us the last segment of the video the like afternoon of that day, and then started rendering it and then uploaded it. Like we didn't even have time to give him feedback.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was like super pressed for time. The interview's the day before, and it's like, but it was so hype because we were like, it was actually good because he ended up delaying it, and it ended up coming out on December 15th, which I think is just a good date for that video to release. You know, it's a little before the holidays, and like, I don't know, it ended up being a good experience. And then, of course, you know, you got like the reaction to the video was really cool because we got Simply watching it. We had like Atrioc watching it. Atrioc actually rated Justin,
Hmm.
and he had like 4,000 viewers at one point. That was hilarious. Um, but yeah, it's just been up and up from there. I think like the coolest effect of the Summoning Salt video, definitely for me, is the fact that I got partnered off of it. Like I will be forever grateful. It was a bit of a grind for me and Justin to get partner off of it, but like it was. I'm so glad. Uh, like I got like 3 Simply raids, I think, which really helped just keep people around. And also the fact that like I didn't have a following before that. So what helped was the fact that I just kept getting record and like getting on pace, and like I grinded for a 223 and got that as well. So it ended up being very good because I not only like was getting the summoning salt boost, but the summoning salt viewers were getting to watch new records. So they were sticking around, and you know, got my viewership average up. And then I got partnered, and that was sort of like that was sort of it. That was when I think I went up. I kept going up, and then I got partnered. And I was like, all right, now I'm here, and I'm just gonna to do whatever I want. Like that was my goal. And since then, I've met some awesome people, like the Mario community. I've become friends with so many people that like I never thought I would be able to, like Sweegie or Simply or whoever it is. Like it's a very cool experience that would only happen because of the service that Summoning Salt did to our community. And I can only be proud of myself because I'm the one who put myself in that video. So yeah, I will always be grateful for what he did, and I will always be thankful that I've had such a good community around me to like provide this experience and allow me to show off my weird talent of, I guess, being able to control two characters at once.
There you
So
go.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite part of that video is definitely the break the record
yeah,
2022, I bet,
it's
right? Yeah.
awesome. Oh man, that that was crazy experience, man. That whole
Speaking
like
of clutch again, like goddamn.
yeah, yeah. No, like honestly, I didn't think I had the clutch gene until that. That was really when I was
Mm.
like, oh my god, I cannot believe that happened still. Uh, and I was talking about this with E Roadhouse a couple days ago. I was like, man, that record was horrible. Like I lost like a minute on two different like skips, but like I did play very well for most of that run. So I don't know, but it is just that was an awesome experience. Like it gave such a cool storyline, and I think I would just recommend anyone who has not seen that part of the video, which I would assume everyone has, but if you haven't, you got to watch that part of the video. It's so well edited as well,
Hmm.
and I think the way that he did the interview was really good.
Oh yeah.
Um, I'm glad we did that interview because it gets my face in the video, which is pretty much all I wanted. Now I can like show people,
Haha.
that's me.
There you go.
It is interesting because like I've gotten recognized a few times, which is weird, but I guess it's just like it's uncommon for people to get recognized from a Summoning Salt video, probably because their faces usually aren't in it. But like I got recognized from that one at school by someone
What?
who I didn't know. Yeah, they were
Really?
like, yeah, they were like, they like the way that he approached it, he was just like he was like, "Are you from the video?" And I was like, because like most people would probably be confused, but like there's only one thing that can mean. So I was like, yeah, yes, I am. And this was like in the hallway at like 9 p.m., like when my night class ended. And I was like, who are you? And he was just like, oh, I just watched the video, which I realized asking who are you is kind of a weird thing to ask someone, but
Who
I
are
was just
you,
like, how do you know me?
plebeian?
Like
I don't know.
what? And like, yeah, so um I went and I checked and he had like typed in my chat before. So like it was
Oh well.
yeah. He had seen me like stream, I guess, a couple times after that video came out. And like the other time I got recognized was in a Counter-Strike lobby. Um
Okay.
someone like it who was it? I think I was playing with Ginger or something, and someone saw Ginger Legend, and they were like, and then it was like, is that Ginger Legend from the Summoning Salt video? And I was like, I like thought that like someone was memeing, but no, someone actually just said that. And then we were like, yeah, it is. And then they were like, oh my god, it's Zach as well. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. Yeah, and I've also been in a lobby where Justin got recognized while I was in there too, and I think someone may have recognized him in like a Hypixel lobby as well. So I don't know.
Mm.
It's interesting. I also thought it was funny that apparently I have a cousin who watched the video and didn't know it was me because because like the last time I had seen them, I had short hair, and in the video I have like long hair, so they just like didn't even realize.
Hmm.
And then they like texted me and they were like, "Wait, is that you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was like a month after the video. And I was like, "Did you just watch the video?" They were like, "No, I watched it a month ago and I just saw a picture of you with long hair." And I was like, "Oh, so yeah, that's me, I guess." But it is interesting. I have like three cousins that watched the video without even like me saying anything about it.
That's pretty
Um,
good.
yeah. So
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah. And getting to meet like the people I have has been pretty awesome. Very grateful. I cannot believe that I went to Pace. I saw Armada in a room, and then he walked up to me and initiated a conversation. That was like a mind blowing. Like he was like, "Oh, hey Zach, how's it going?" I was like, "Dude, that's Armada." Like what? Also, I think Mango watched the video on stream. That was kind of wild, and he kept calling me the Leffen of Lego. It's like I don't know about that, but yeah,
Yeah.
just many cool experiences from that, and very, very, very cool that we got all the support, and I think we handled the community response pretty well. Like we turned it into 2 partnered streamers. That's not doesn't happen after every video, so I think
Oh
we did a
yeah,
good
no.
job with that. But yeah, obviously, there's more to the story, but a lot of it, a lot of it can be seen in the Summoning Salt video, and
Yeah, there's plenty there.
I
But
definitely recommend watching that one. It's kind of a banger.
yeah,
4 million views now, kind of crazy.
I thought it was great. So take that as you will. But I
Yeah.
want to say the only story I have of like being recognized is I remember when Bismuth made his first or second Mario 1 video. So this
Mm-hmm.
is like 2018. I had the IL world record for 8.4 at the time. So I'm just like mentioned it very briefly, like 10 seconds.
Oh
It's my
yeah.
username. And someone that lived 2 doors down from me
No
texted
way.
me out of the blue and said, "Hey, this is your username, right?" I was like,
What?
"Yeah, it is."
Dude, that is
Which
crazy.
is funny because back then I probably had like 100 followers or something. Like I was a
That's actually
fucking
crazy.
no one.
Well,
So,
yeah, that's
and
wild.
that was like one of Bismuth's more early videos. But yeah, apparently that friend I had that I didn't even know was into speedrunning was like watched Mitch Flower Power a lot, was like into Mario 3 stuff, and I was like,
Oh wow.
Sure, man, go."
Yeah,
Funny how
that's
that
pretty
works out.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those situations are always like very cool and amusing to me.
Hmm.
So it's nice to
Yeah, I
hear it
I
happen to
actually
people.
forgot. One of my friends from college, he DM'd me on Discord last pace, so like whatever, a month and a half ago or whatever. It was. Were you there when we were at Denny's on the last night? I don't know if you were.
At the Denny, you got a huge Among
Yeah,
Us
yeah, the
W.
Among Us one. Yeah, yeah. During that, while we were sitting there, he DM'd me a picture. It was like a selfie of my friend with these 2 people, and apparently he was at like a Smash tournament, and he was like, "Yo, these 2 guys know who you are," and I was like, "What?" And then like apparently what happened is they were talking about like speedrunning Lego or something, because like they're like people who watch me or something.
Mm.
And then my friend was like, "Oh, yo, my friend like speedruns Lego," and they were like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then they kept talking about it, and then he was like, "Wait, who are you guys talking about?" And then they're like, "Oh, we're talking about ZacMuffin, the world record holder or whatever." And then he's like, "Dude, you guys are not gonna believe this. I was like friends with him in high school or like college." And then like these 2 freaking people are just like, "What? No way!" Like they are like losing it. And then like in this picture he sent me, they're like, "Oh my god!" Like I was like, "Dude, I have 3K followers, not that big, but I'll take it, I guess." It
Yeah,
was a cool experience.
that's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love those stories. They're just so
yeah.
funny.
Niche internet micro celebrity. That's what they
Hell
call me.
yeah. It's what it's all about. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I know. So you kind of ended the chapters on like the 228, right? Oh, wait.
Yeah,
But
sort
before,
of. And then I kind of skipped ahead, but yeah.
yeah, before I bring that up though, there was a question I meant to ask a while ago. You said uh the game used to be timed with loads and then now they're removed, right?
Yeah.
Do you know like the estimate of how much time loads would
Yeah,
cost?
so it depends on the category
Mm-hmm.
because you do different things in different categories. In any percent, the loads are like 50 seconds. So
Okay.
record has realistically gone down about a minute this year, which is it should be better, but I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been playing. Um, so yeah, and then in like free play, for example, it's 3 minutes of loads. So it completely depends on the category.
Yeah.
But yeah, free play record RTA is a 107. which is crazy. That is 4 minutes faster than I think the last record I set in that category. But I actually might try and get that record back pretty soon because that's a fun category.
Yeah.
And yeah, any percent is like a 223.08 or something RTA, or like 03. So it's almost 222 RTA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, with my progression, I think this fixed it last time. Maybe it'll fix it again. With my progression, I think I have brought the time down. I got the first 228. I got the first 227. I got the first 226. This is not working. I got the first 225. I got the first 224. And I got the first 223. And then I guess I technically got the first 222 because it went to loadless.
Okay. So the loadless change happened more recently.
Yeah, it was actually like we changed the boards like this like early summer, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Or something. Yeah, something like that. Like May.
Yeah.
June
I definitely think any game with like varying loads should always be loadless. That's always been my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It
I'm
was
glad
just so hard for us to get that to work.
Yeah, I mean,
to get the load and river to work because the game is old and very, very awkward to handle with all the memory addresses it uses. But the auto splitter is my child, and I spent so much time working on it that I'm very glad it actually worked.
Yeah, I switched to auto splitting, which is harder because you have to get a screen capture of like your capture card with like the old console.
Yeah.
It takes a while, but
oh my god, we actually tried it to make a visual auto splitter for a game and just gave up. It was just way too hard.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very nice that worked out then, because
yeah,
it
definitely helps a lot.
Hearing you talk about like losing time to bad loads and being upset, I'm just like, why does that have to happen?
That was the worst, man. But to be honest, like it didn't make a difference. It was just like that one run is probably the only notable example I can think of with it being a huge issue. But it was more that we had to preload levels, so you would have to like go into all the levels before you started runs for your loads to be faster, and it added like 5 minutes of setup time every time you want to do attempts, and it's that was awful.
No, yeah,
because like
wow,
that made loads better, so like it kind of fixed it, but also like that sucked. I did not like doing that.
No, yeah, gross.
So yeah, I'm very glad we fixed all those problems. It needed to happen, but it just took a while.
Yeah. So between the video where it left off, which what was it like? Was it 224 at that point?
It's 224.46 or something. 224.43.
And now it's like 222.13.
222.11.
11. That was close.
Yep.
Anything like noteworthy happened in between that time period?
Yeah, I mean, we had the 3rd edition of BTR. That was a little tragic. I got on a run that was like 220 pace. And then so we have disco skip.
Yeah.
Big fan of that trick. It's not actually RNG, but like
it might as well be.
It might as well be, yeah. And so I got it like 7th try, lost like a minute. And then I lost like 30 seconds to the RNG on the boulder at the end of the run. And I got a 222.28. So it would have been a 220.
Got it.
And that happened during BTR on the last day at the very end. I was not happy about it. And then since then, I haven't really done much 90%. I've been doing other categories because Disco's been pissing me off. But I did get record at that event. I did get a 222.11 at the event. So still another record during a BTR. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the 223 grind was sort of what happened after like what happened after the video was I grinded for record back and I got it. I got like a 20-second record, and then Roadhouse beat it by 0.3. And that was a crazy. There's a video on his channel, a comparison video where we like analyze the two runs. It's very cool to watch, actually.
Crazy
And
that
it's
little
crazy
time
because
save in a
yeah, I
2 hour
know.
run.
The crazy part about it is that that was still RTA, and loadless. My run was faster,
Oh,
so
of
that was like a
course.
big problem, right? So to fix it, because I'm a genius, I just got record again right before we
Oh,
switched, and I was
brilliant.
like, oh, why didn't I just do that before? So yeah, that was lucky that I did that. So I got like a 6 second record, and then I got another one, then another one, and then I had a 224.06, and then it was basically 223 grind. And I grinded for a few months, and I got that in March, I think, the 223.44, and then that became a 222.52. So unfortunately, we missed the 222 barrier. It just skipped it, but
Mhm.
it is what it is. And then yeah, got a couple more records this year, brought it down to 222.11. I would like to get a 221, hopefully. Could happen any day if I just grind the category, but it's just hard. The game is so hard now,
Mhm.
so you really got to put the time in. Ginger is grinding right now for record. That'll be cool to see if he gets record.
He's very
Um,
close.
he's very close. Yeah, definitely capable.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I've been enjoying the other categories in the game. The nice thing about the game is that every category is sick. They're
Mhm.
very different, so it's a cool game to get into. We had Frostbite join the community as a result of the video, and he got into like top 4 or 5 after around a year. So I would say
Goddamn.
that's very impressive progress. Um, Obviously, the transition between being top 4 and record capable, it can be years long,
Mhm.
but getting to that high level is still super impressive.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so that was cool. We just wanted one new runner as a result of the video, and we got it. So I'm
Perfect.
pretty sad with pretty satisfied. I don't know why I said sad. I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Satisfied.
And of course, we got many new runners besides that as well. And I met new people who are my friends. That I met my current roommate named Bob Toad. So
Mm,
big things.
big things. Yeah. Big question is sub 220.
Yeah, so that does get asked a lot. Of course,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
figured.
sure you're not surprised by that, but
No.
um, generally what I say is like it's actually technically possible right now, but no, it's not. No one is like that's not going to happen yet
Like it's
because my
theoretically, but not realistically.
yeah like my sob is a 217.40 something, and my sob is really good, like
Yeah.
very
Wow.
very playing two almost only 2 minutes off your sob in a run that hard and that long with that much RNG,
Yeah,
like
that's pretty ridiculous.
it's kind of unrealistic to get the RNG that you need for it. There's also trash skip, which is a trick that you have to hit a button on your keyboard and a button on your controller 2 frames apart, I think, like at 60
Mm,
FPS,
yeah.
and you also have to have very precise positioning and timing to do it, and that
Mhm.
saves like 20 seconds, 3 frames. Sorry. Um, but yeah, so like that, there's that, right? That's a 20-second source of variance in the run. And then there's Boulder, which is like 30 seconds of RNG. And then there's just RNG in every level as well. And then there's like General Grievous has some RNG in it. And it's just hard. It's too hard to do. The run is so long. The run is so hard. Like
Mhm.
I would say a 220 would be really, really good right now. Like that would
Yeah.
be very, that's doable, but 219 not yet.
Mhm.
Maybe, I'm sure, like obviously eventually it'll happen, right? But
Mhm.
um, what I said last year was like if 219 happens, I probably won't be the one to do it. That may not be true anymore because it is closer than I thought it was, but it could still be true. Like I could, I have a job now, so
Mhm.
well, I'm no longer a college student, which is crazy. This game took me all the way through college. Very very weird to think about, but you know, the future of the game is in the hands of the people who are running it that are young right now. Ginger, is, you know, still like 20, I think, and he's a long way to go. He hasn't gotten record yet, but he will. He definitely will.
Oh, he's been
Um,
up there forever, so yeah.
yeah. So, you know, many people left to induce the future of Lego Star Wars, and of course, I'd be remiss to not mention the fact that all of the Lego games have a sick speedrunning community. So like, there's so much more for me to do,
Hmm.
and I don't even have to stick to Lego. Like I've messed around with Mario a little bit, and I really want to get into some of the Mario games. Um, but you know, you always got to keep coming back to your first love. That's what you say.
Yeah, I feel that. Um,
Yep.
we didn't really touch at all about like what. Well, there has been, but like a lot of the stuff that's inside the run itself, like
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of
Yeah, that's the thing. There's like
epic,
80,
epic
80 tricks or
content.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is pretty
You could
crazy.
just go over like what are the like noteworthy ones? Like if someone's gonna watch a
Mm.
run and haven't seen it yet, like what's there to like look out for? Like, oh shit, that's sick.
Yeah, so that I mean, first of all, the 1P2C is the sickest part of Lego games for sure.
Hmm.
It is so sick. That's why I try to do hand cam sometimes, or I'll do like input display so people can see. So I use a controller and a keyboard, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I said obviously, but that's the most common one. Um, is controller and keyboard. Justin does like double keyboard for the most part, and like T Fresh, for example, does two controllers. So there's many ways to do it.
Hmm.
But that is like what is the coolest part of watching is like you will see the mastery of being able to control two characters at once. And I will say, I've been playing piano since I was 4. I have a little bit of an advantage. I won't deny it. It helps. I'll be honest, it does help. So yeah, you know, it might be harder for people to get into it if they haven't had that experience before. But within the actual run, there's like some huge tricks. Like in pod race, there's pod fraud. That
Hmm.
is like the ultra shortcut is what we told him to call it in the video.
Yeah.
And what I tried to explain how pod fraud worked in VC to summoning salt, it did take like 45 minutes. So that was a little confusing to look at, but it's very cool to watch because the pod racers are just zooming all over the
You
place,
get
and then you
so
just
much
save
speed
like a
from
minute.
that. It's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
just like, oh, it's just you just skip the entire second lap. Like, okay. Um, so yeah, that's like probably the most visually cool trick in the run. And then you got like Camino, that's 2-2. That one is tricks all over the place. That is a really cool one to watch. Um, and then but like the hardest level in the game is Junland. That's 4-2. We actually play the run in a different order, as most people probably know.
Hmm.
So it's
Like you
not
end
one,
on 5.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 1, 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, and so that can make it a little weird. People like love to ask, why do you skip episode 3? It's like, well, just hold your horses, man. We're getting there. Um, but yeah, in episode 4, the whole all of episode 4 honestly is so sick. But Junlin is the hardest level in the game, I think, or second hardest probably. Um, that's 4-2. That one has like super hard out of bounds where you get an extra a red brick at the beginning, and then you do a trick that has 1 frame of leeway, and then you do some really really hard 1P2C, and then you do another trick, and then another trick, and then you do another trick, and they're all pretty hard. And if you do them all correctly, you know get like
You
a
win.
decent time. Yeah, you win. Um,
Awesome.
following that is like another really hard trick, and then another really hard trick, and then a trick that saves a minute that can kill your run. That is also pretty hard. And then after that is another like that whole
Okay.
episode is insane. Um, but the most important level to watch is usually Death Star Escape. That's 4-5 because that's the one with Trash Skip in it. So that's like that can make or break a run. And then also your run can just die there to like anything because it's like a very dangerous level. Because the idea with that level is you have to keep your helmet on the whole time, and if you lose your helmet, you're screwed. Like you have to like kill all the enemies and like get another helmet. It can lose like a minute, so you have to keep your helmet on the whole time, and so that level can be like pretty intense. And then you've got like another out of bounds in that level that is pretty hard. So that whole episode is like sick to watch. And then the next episode is episode 6, which is also pretty cool to watch. But unfortunately, it has Carcoon, and Carcoon has Disco, and that trick is not good, and I don't like it. So I don't have any nice words for that level. But that is the level that I golded when I was on pace with Evan for the first sub 230, and that was why it was so crazy, because like getting that trick first try does not happen all the time,
Because that's
unfortunately.
the trick that's like essentially RNG.
Yeah, we don't really understand it. But there is not a single human being who gets it first try every time, or even close. So that's what we know.
How much time does
yeah,
a failed attempt cost?
it's like 12 seconds per,
Yeah.
and then like it's very, if you miss it once, it's very common to miss it like 5 times. You just lose like 50 seconds or something. And then I think the visually appealing one after that is Jedi Destiny, because you have Ultra Kill, where the gameplay is like 13 seconds long or something, and you start the level and then you just push the Emperor into the kill plane and the level just ends, which is really funny because it's like canonically accurate. You know, you push him into the pit and he dies, which is in the movie, but that is not what the developers wanted to happen. It is really weird that that works, because you can't really do it in many other places in the game, but it happens to save like 4 minutes in that level, so pretty convenient.
Yeah.
And then episode 3 is kind of a snooze fest because it's just like RNG. And then there's library skip, which is also just like RNG. And then there's episode 5, which is like the hype one, because you started off with 2 RNG levels. 5-1 and 5-3 are pretty much just RNG levels. And then you have 5-4, 5-5, and 5-6, and the last 3 levels of the run, and they're like hard. So you get a bunch of RNG, and then you get into the thick of it at the end where you got to actually clutch up. So it makes for a really hype ending. And
All the
like
Darth Vader
CCT
skips are
is just,
there. The door
yeah,
clip
dude,
at the
that
very end.
honestly,
We don't have to talk about boxes, but
yeah, no, we would forget about that. But like CCT is just such a sick level to watch, especially when it's done like very well. It's so, it can be, you have the opportunity to clutch up so hard in that level, and then like the music that plays in the last level, and then you have the end platform where you can lose a few seconds. It is nice that like the last room of the run, there's like 10 seconds of leeway if you play well, and it's like almost all in your control. So if you are like on point with your aiming and your 1P2C, you can get a really good end platform, or you can lose like 7 or 8 seconds if you're not. And so it adds a lot of variance to that, and I think it just ends up being like a sick way to end the run. It's just so fun to watch a world record live for that reason. You get like the vibes of the early game, you know, you get the prequel levels, people just talking to chat, and you get into the mid game where the episode 4, where it's really hard, you start paying attention to the pace a little bit, and then you got the chill episode 3 where you're kind of, the levels are pretty slow, or like the levels are fast, but there isn't like too much fast paced action. And then you go straight into the hype episode at the end, where like you get to watch the RNG happen, and then if it's still alive, you get to watch them clutch up, and it's just like it's just a sick way to end the run. It's like such a cool experience. I think like I would compare it to like 120 is my only other like the only other long run that I think like, and of course it's a lot longer than 120, but the only other run that's like over an hour where I would say you get the full like vibe of like a full experience. Like it takes you through the whole thing. It's very cool.
So,
So yeah,
what's the like reasoning for the specific like story order?
it's mostly, well, it's 2 things. There's cutscenes and extras. So like extras give you like, one of them is exploding blaster bolts. That means when you shoot with the blaster character, the thing explodes, which can skip a bunch of stuff. Like some of the stuff you can only shoot with an explosion, like a gate, for example, and that can just end up saving a ton of time. So because of that, you want to get that extra really early. But the extras are found in the levels, as most people who've played a Lego game know. And because that red brick is early on, it's in episode 2. We want to do episode 2 early. And then Fast Force is in episode 4. So we want to do episode 4 early. And then Infinite Torpedoes is in episode 6. So we want to do that before the end. And then the thing about episode 5 is that we need all of the extras for episode 5. So it already has to go last. Combined with that, it has the longest end cutscene, and timing stops when you lose control of the character. So the cutscene is not counted in the final time. So as soon as you hit that cutscene, the run is over. So we want to end on that because we can get rid of that whole like almost a minute from the run by doing that. And so, there's small reasons for like different orders, but for the most part, that's why. And you have to start on episode 1. It just forces you to. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
that's pretty much it.
Kind of works out pretty well then.
Yeah. A lot of people say like, oh, wouldn't it be better to do episode 5 earlier on because it's harder? Which is like, 1, that's a slower route, so no one's ever gonna do that. But 2, like the thing about putting a hard episode at the beginning is that you're just gonna reset constantly. Like, do you really want to do that? I don't know.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you need those like extras to do it optimally anyway. So
like no one will ever do that. Like I think, and if you've speedrun anything at a high level, you know that almost always you're doing the fastest route, and if not, you're doing a slower route for a very good reason, and that's not a very good reason. So yeah,
makes sense.
You just got to play well at the end. That's all you got to do. It's not that hard.
Just clutch up.
Just clutch up.
One thing I know we didn't talk about, you said like your first event kind of thing was that first break the record. It was live and in person.
Yeah.
That was 2021, right?
2021, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Was the next like in-person thing you did the Pace? They had the Lego Star Wars LTA at Pace.
That was the next in-person tournament I did, but we met up in like January of that year, just as like a meetup.
Oh, okay.
And I went to GDQ 2022.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in summer. I did not really. I don't know. I get why they had to do like all the mask protocols and stuff because, of course, but it just made it not that fun to be at the actual venue.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I don't think I would go back to another GDQ because of that until they change that.
Well, I think they did now. 2023 was a lot better. But yeah, obviously safety first, of course. Yeah. But I went to GDQs in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and I mean that was like, holy shit, this event is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I would imagine. I obviously missed out on that, but I mean, I'm glad I went to one at least. I think the thing I like about Pace is that if I see someone there, I probably know them or like am friends with them as well. And so it's just like a cool like opportunity to get together with all these people that I'm friends with that like I only get to talk to online most of the time. And like I also like that I get to compete sometimes, and like next time we might get to compete again. It just makes it like that added like I know I'm never going to get into GDQ because we've tried, and I'm pretty sure TCS can't be in GDQ because the cutscenes have copyrighted audio. So
good point.
Yeah. Unfortunately, probably not gonna happen. I've been on like hotfix, but I don't think we can actually get into the main event.
Maybe there could be like some sort of mod that disables the music or something.
Yeah, we talked about that. The other option is also like there's categories that don't have cutscenes. The thing is they're just not popular enough to get into the event, I think.
I definitely think that the category could be there. There's no reason not to. But it seems like it's other factors that are at play here.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing about GDQ is also like people like retro games and people like new games, and Lego Star Wars happens to be kind of in this weird middle area where it's like it's not that old, it's 2008 or I don't know, something like that. But it's also not new enough to be in the event for being a new game, so it doesn't quite have the retro appeal that like an NES game or like an N64 game has. So it's sort of in this weird middle ground where like I would imagine people aren't going to want to watch it just for the game, and that's part of the reason a lot of people like watching runs at GDQ is because they like the game. Like they will know nothing about the run, but they'll like the game. So that is kind of, I think, why like it's not the the best GDQ game, but I think that's also why it works for Pace, because most people at Pace are speedrunners, and so they
Mhm.
already know about it and like they want to watch it.
Yeah, but I'd argue that there is a lot of nostalgia for that game
That's
because
true.
a lot of speedrunner people that would are into speedrunning, like maybe they're in their mid to late 20s, probably grew up with it at this point.
That's true.
And I know
However,
I know it had like that big thing on
on
TikTok or
TikTok, yeah,
something. So
yeah, that is, yeah,
yeah,
that
so
that
you never
that
know.
didn't get me into the game, but
Yeah.
that definitely was like a popular thing. I will say, like, there's obviously the thing about like GDQ is I feel like there's definitely a lot of different age ranges, and it's definitely older than Pace. Like I think a lot of people at
Yeah,
GDQ
yeah.
are, Pace is like 20, like early 20s for the most part, and you know GDQ is
Mhm.
probably like people in their 30s for the most part, I would imagine. Um, could be even older than that because some people love the retro like high score running or like stuff like that as well. Which is the nice thing about GDQ is it's very inclusive to like all types of speedrunning, whereas
Mhm.
Pace I think is very much like modern speedrunning.
Yeah,
So
more
it's just a
tournament
different
focused,
audience.
more like
Yeah,
heavy hitter focused because they
yeah,
don't have that like huge community behind them that
hmm,
GDQ does. So they can't just have
yeah,
anything.
yep. But I think it's cool that they exist or coexist, even I should say,
Mhm.
because I think it's good to have those two different like dynamics.
Yeah. Both have pros and cons. I love
Yeah,
both for different reasons, so it's always a good time.
yep.
But yeah, so this summer, so 2023, they had the like a Star Wars LTA, whole
Hmm.
day of gaming. So, what was that
Yeah,
experience like?
that was a free $400. Or sorry, excuse me.
Okay, man.
Just kidding. It was a free $400, but that's just because none of us were in practice, and like
Mhm.
I don't know, it wouldn't be if we did it again. It wouldn't be free money for me, so it would probably be more exciting. But I think it was still fun to watch. Like I like the idea of competing in an LTA format because it really allows you to like have a strategy. It's like when you're just doing like a no reset race. I think it can be very not like it can be very much not an example of how good a runner is. It can just be like, oh well, this person got unlucky once and you know now they just lose. Whereas
Mhm.
in an LTA that doesn't really happen. So I think it allows the runners to show off how good they are a lot more effectively. And I think like my consistency helps me with those events. That's why I've won every LTA we've had, I think. Um, and yes, it was also just so cool being on stage. Like that was awesome. I really hope we can do it again. Maybe in at next pace, I'll talk to Milo, see if we can get the game back in. I just wanted this pace. Like I told him, like because I think Cheese actually asked if we wanted to be in it again, and I just said like I'd rather have the opportunity for other games to get to show off their game in the
Mhm.
event when we've already had a chance. Because I know before we had the summoning salt video, we felt like it was very hard for smaller games to like get a chance to show off their community and their like game.
Mhm.
So I felt like, might as well allow for that, opportunity to be provided. And I think that was cool because they got like Banjo instead of us. And I'm glad they got a chance to show off the run.
Yeah. I know we almost did another Mario 1 thing, but I think
Yeah,
16 star
probably not
happened
enough
instead or
people.
something. Or maybe it was
Yeah.
maybe it's the Mario Kart thing, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Mario Kart was like interesting. I,
Yeah.
I definitely I definitely like watching Mario Kart, but that
It
game
was
as an
cool.
LTA is so like so weird because like
Yeah. It's like
you're
too
kind of just
long almost.
yeah you're
Well,
kind of just like
not really.
doing well. It's not like it's
I was
I
thinking
think it's
96 track, but no, they didn't do that. So never
well
mind.
they didn't yeah the I think the run length itself is fine, but it's
Yeah.
more the fact that like you are just watching the same thing
Hmm.
a lot because like
It's like too RNG heavy too.
yeah like the only thing that changes anything in the run is like getting blue shelled
Hmm.
and like there aren't as many or like there aren't really any tricks like that. That's why I think Mario Kart Wii and 64 is so much more interesting to watch.
Hmm.
But
Oh god. I
you
love
know,
Mario Kart.
it's
Those
another
Mario Karts.
conversation.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think how much RNG in it isn't great because I was at that 2022 pace and they had like a 3-day Minecraft thing. And the whole time you'd look over and there's like 9 different seeds they're trying to find cycling, and that's the whole thing. I'm like,
Yep.
this cannot be fun.
Great event when Rainex wins the 3-day event in the first 10 minutes. That was
For
so stupid.
really,
Like
I
I
didn't
don't
even.
yeah,
Wow,
he won on his first run.
wow.
Like
I
he
didn't.
didn't win with like because he got that run. He just won because no one beat it for the rest of the event, which was like silly. Um
Wow.
and honestly, I love Minecraft speedrunning. I think it's a cool community and I think it's a cool game, but
Hmm.
for an LTA format,
No,
no.
no, of
Absolutely
course
not.
not.
That is one of the worst possible games that they could have picked for it. Like the bingo thing they did, that was sick. I don't know if you
Yeah,
watched that.
I didn't
That was
see it,
cool.
but I did know about it.
Yeah, like that and like there's also PvP tournaments that they did with some speedrunners. Like that kind of thing I think is sick.
Hmm.
The RSG LTA, not it.
Yeah.
Not it.
What
Unfortunately, but
that needs like a showcase run. Like you just have a
yes.
seed and you have to work with it. You can't just be like,
Yeah,
here
I
we
mean like
go.
think about like some of the GDQ runs like that Illumina has done or like just who's the Tarot Kitchen, I guess. I think he did a GDQ run. Like those are like popular, like very
Hmm.
popular. Like that one of
Hey,
the Minecraft
the
GDQ
best
runs.
Minecraft run at GDQ is Bismuth though.
Oh
Real
yeah,
runs, no.
true.
Yeah, there you go. That was a
But
world record.
I think one of the Minecraft runs at GDQ was my first introduction to speedrunning, like the first
Mm.
speedrunning content I saw, I think. Um, and then watching Clint Stevens, always good stuff.
Of course. Um, all right. I think we covered Lego Star Wars. It's
I
been
think so.
3 hours, so hopefully we got everything. But I mean, are there any like notable things you've done in other games that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, I've played other games. I've never been like super competitive with many other games. I played Lego Star Wars 2, which was it's a different game, but it's similar enough to where like my accomplishments in that game don't really mean that much because I kind of just took my skill elsewhere. You know what I really people need to know this history, all right?
Okay.
I have had board sweep in a non-Lego game.
Ooh.
Did you know this? This
No.
is a hidden lore.
Okay.
I've had board sweep in Cetera Type Easy. That's
I don't know what that is.
Cetera is the game where you like pick countries on a map and then like try and like click on where they are. But the
Oh.
type easy version of Cetera is where you type in the names of the country. And then the reason it has easy is because you don't have to type them in when they're on the right country. So the game is just typing in a bunch of country names. And
Oh.
I
Interesting.
can type pretty fast. So I got board sweep in that game. And it's actually a pretty popular game. So that's kind of
Interesting.
funny. I
Okay.
did that like 3 years ago. Um, I would say like I don't know if you count this as speedrunning, but typing is like one of the things that I have dedicated the most time at. I have
Mhm.
like if I go I need to check my PBs, flex a little bit. I logged in here. My PB is 207 currently.
Ooh.
Uh
Wow.
yeah, so I like typing. It's very fun. I can go pretty fast and so yeah, I've spent a lot of time doing that. And it is, I mean, it is speed running, but it's just technical skill, of course, like just typing as fast as you can.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that was cool though because I used to like grind my words per minute. Like I remember when I was trying to get 80 words per minute in 7th grade.
Mhm.
I remember grinding that. That was what I used to do a lot in middle school and high school was try and do that. And I haven't put like that much time into it, but I've definitely put a decent amount of time into it. Um,
Sounds like it.
yeah, and so like you can call it speedrunning or not,
Mhm.
but
Speed typing.
I did get Cetera board sweep, and Cetera has 62,000 runs. So
All
say
right.
what you will, pretty popular game. Um, but yeah, other than that, I did the last Moist challenge.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how much I really want to get into that because like Justin covered it pretty well in his interview with like the Moist challenges, but I did technically get top 10 in that game. It was a little weird. Um, that game, that was terrible, man. It like a lot of people said that that was the worst Moist game, and it was the only one I did.
Mhm.
But I proved myself in it. I was really happy with how I did. I got so what the time I ended up with was a 737, which I think top 10 was like 736, but my run got retimed to a 733, which would have been like I think it would have been sixth. But they didn't officially retime it. Like the mods didn't do it because they had already sent all the money out, and I
Mhm.
only asked for a retime really late. And instead of like taking away the prize from fifth place, they were like, I mean, it is what it is. And
Yeah.
they could have, taken someone's $100 away or whatever it was. But I was like, you know what? I don't need $100. I don't really care. Um, so yeah, I didn't receive any prize money for that, but I don't really care. Um, I did do really well though. I was having a tough time. I didn't get to play the whole time. I missed about 4 days of the 2 weeks. And I
Mhm.
think if I had been able to play all 14 days, I think I could have gotten top four in that, which I would have been really happy with. But either way, I wanted to prove myself that I was even capable of getting like a decent Moist Challenge placing, and I did because that's hard to do. You're up there with the best speedrunners of every game, and
Mhm.
I was able to pull it out and like get a pretty decent run. I it was tough on the mental. It was very challenging to manage my time and try not to burn out. And I was applying for jobs during the challenge, so that
Yeah.
sucked. I did not get to run nearly as much as I ran like half as much as Zach runs. He obviously got second in a muck runner and I think third in Exodus. So he ran twice as much as me, and we ended with basically the same PB. So it's a brutal game, but you know, yeah. I also ran My Little Pony. I bought the game for like $7 because they were doing a money challenge for it, and I speedran it for 1.5 days and got $80. So like, pretty good deal.
Okay.
you know, yeah. That's about all I can say for that one.
I,
Um,
I have to ask though, because I know
yeah.
because before I do these, I like to look at the person's speedrun history,
Mm.
just out of curiosity, and I saw that I was like, what the so I click on it and I see so many like Lego people
Yeah.
and like
Well,
some other
the thing
people I
is,
know have done it. I'm like, what is going on
it,
here?
it was an unlimited amount of money basically that they were willing to give out because it was like you had to like it wasn't a competition like that. It was basically like if you hit below a certain time barrier you get a certain amount of money. So I think it was
Interesting.
like if you get a sub 11, for every second you get a dollar gets added on to the like $40 or something. So I got a sub 11 and then I got like a 10-13, so I got like $87. And I was
Hmm.
like, all right, I'm good with that. And then I stopped.
And
But honestly, I kind of had a good time. It was
wait,
actually kind of
who's
fun.
giving the money?
It was like some YouTuber or something.
Oh, okay.
I think it was like a YouTuber that like has speedrun the game or something.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
is Tridashy. They're in third place right now.
Okay, so it's just like run the game and I'll pay you. Okay.
Yeah, no, like literally, that's what it
Okay.
was. I don't know. I
I
Hey,
I,
I'm not
I
complaining.
understand. No, no, I
I
understand
made
now.
$80. Like I'll take it, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
why
yeah.
not?
Um,
That's
but
pretty funny.
other than that, like I haven't gone that much outside of Lego. I have a 19 and 16 star. I don't know, who cares?
Well,
I've
I have an
done like
18. I care.
oh well,
Mm.
I done 3 attempts of 16 stars. So
Okay, now I'm mad.
I don't know. I've like played a good amount of SM64 or like a little bit of it. I just haven't really run the game very much. Um, but oh yeah, I did run 70 star. I think I have a 344 in 70 star. So if
All
that
right.
makes you feel better.
Yes. I have a 57, so I feel a lot better now.
yeah, yeah, I would call it running. It was definitely
What?
not running. Um, yeah, Callie like came into my chat and like basically was like lobbying for me to do a 70 star run. He does this all the time. He made me do
Oh
a
yeah.
blind 16 star run and it was like a 140.
There you go.
So yeah.
Hey, my blind 120 run is 5:54.
Oh yeah, so I did try to do a blind 120 run, and I had an 11-minute womps, and I was like, you know what, we're not doing this, and I gave up in like JRB or something. It was not
Pretty
good.
based, honestly.
I literally couldn't get the Jetstream star in JRB, and I was like,
Oh
this
my
might be a full day event. I don't know if this is gonna happen.
god. Mm-hmm.
But I would like to get. I mean, every Mario runner like asks me to like they want me to run Mario. I guess
Mm-hmm.
because like some of the stuff I've done, like I actually my movement isn't that bad, I guess, but like I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'll always flex the fact that I have a 12-9 tricky triangles. Anyone out there who doesn't have a 12-9 triangles XCAM, you are worse than me at
Okay.
that game.
I guess I'm
That's
worse than
all you
you.
need to know.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
That's but eventually
unfortunate.
I will have a Mario arc, I'm sure. It's just it's hard to walk away from like even for
Yeah.
a small amount of time because like people are constantly gunning for record in that game and I'm not trying to lose records.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it is
When you
what it
say
is.
Mario,
But
you just mean Mario 64.
Mario 64, yeah.
Yeah.
Senor actually did SMB1
Hey,
8%. I don't know what he got in it, but
I know that game.
yeah, you do know that game.
Just a little bit.
Um, yeah, yeah. I the reason I don't want to run SMB1 is because I am not good at short runs. Like I'm actually
Mm.
really bad at them. Like it just does not work for me. Like something in my brain just I think it's because I'm such a like consistency kind of player. Like
Yeah.
I like I've had to adapt to doing a 2.5 hour run for years that like I am so consistency pilled, you could say.
Yeah.
That's why Lavender Island, the Moist game, was so hard for me because it's a 7-minute run and it's mouse and keyboard. And
Mm-hmm.
I've never like competed on anything mouse keyboard. Um and like it's 7 minutes. So that was like the worst of the worst possible that I could have done. But um yeah, you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. People. Yeah. I'm more of like a short category person.
yeah.
So I get it. Like, it depends. I do
It depends
both.
on the
I
person for
probably
sure.
enjoy longer ones if I actually sat down and did them, but I like being able to
Hmm.
just be precise, like almost play perfectly.
Yeah, no, honestly, like that makes sense.
And any
Like
RNG, I'm out. Fuck that
okay, see
shit.
that is why you can never be a Lego Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
runner. I
I
guess
know, I know.
too much RNG,
Like I
but
can't even play
I'm
Mario
I'm
3
one with the
because the
RNG.
hands, like, ugh, so
Oh god,
I hate it. It's garbage.
yeah, I'm numb to it at this point. Like
Yeah.
I'll I'll take it, I guess.
It, I'm sure if I like don't care about having like a really solid time and it's like long enough, I probably wouldn't care, but
Yeah.
the things I play are precise and are
Hmm.
short. And when RNG's involved, I'm like, nope, I'm out. Bye. So,
Yeah. It is interesting because like I care as much about saving frames as anyone in a short category would. But then I also just lose 30 seconds to bad RNG on one level.
mhm.
And it's like, am I just wasting my time? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I definitely do like I'm really interested in optimization and lines and like that kind of stuff in the Lego games because it's really cool to like I would say it's really cool to like feel yourself going faster with two players. You feel like you're mastering your control over two different characters at once. It just feels satisfying. So that's what I like the most about them. But if there was a moist challenge that involved one P2C, I'm
You're
clear.
there. Yeah.
Platformer with one P2C, bro.
Mm,
Give me there.
yeah. Well, any other games you are thinking about running in the future? Just at all?
Yeah, I mean, my next game is Lego Batman, so stay
Mm,
tuned for that.
I see.
That's on the horizon. Um, but yeah, I think there's still more that I want to accomplish with uh, TCS, and when I feel satisfied with that, I'll move to other things. I mean, SM64 is definitely the next like one I'm willing to put serious time into.
Hmm.
Um, but there have been some really cool runs that I've wanted to learn, like Cuphead. I wish I had actually learned that run. I actually started learning Portal 2 as well. But man, that stuff is hard, and I'm not a mouse keyboard kind of person. That's a real problem. But
Yeah.
I would like to really like to put some time into that.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, think we've covered everything. Pretty sure. Think we did it. Yeah. Did I miss anything that you can think of that might be important? Oh, hang on. I see. Yeah, I did hear some like banging going around, so.
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, GG's, I guess.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and let you self-promote to your liking, and I'll let chat if you got any questions, even though I know it's mainly people that know you pretty well, so. Oh.
There we go. Right
Oh,
there.
perfect.
Right there. Bang.
See, you know. I like
And
that.
that's it. Those are the only platforms I'm on.
You can find them in the YouTube description as well, by the way. Also, there's this thing that exists.
Nice.
I
Make sure
love
you
the shout out
subscribe.
command. Like and subscribe for more
Like and
content.
subscribe, guys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, not answering that question. All right. Yeah, I guess that's all I got.
All right, well, no questions allowed here. Yeah. We're satisfied. Then yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Follow me, follow him, follow everyone. Follow everyone. Or something. I'm really good at ending these, if you haven't noticed. I'm so good at that.
All right. Well, I guess see you guys on the next one, where I
Yeah.
will not be there, but
You won't.
he
Okay.
will.
Yeah, there you go.
That way.
Bye. Right here. Yes, so be sure to follow the Twitch if you want to see him live, and follow the YouTube if you want to watch the VODs. This one will be up, if you're watching live, this will be up tomorrow because today is Saturday and it's the Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight. So just keep that in mind. All right.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Thanks for being on. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode, everyone. Until then, take care. Bye bye.